and welcome to another live reading. We will be continuing to read Pa Takrur in our Lahaj, that is the decision. We're on chapter 8. And this scroll is brought to us by the hand of Pa Nabab Yanun. Now, before we get started, we're just going to take a moment to do a breathing exercise. We're going to acknowledge our master teacher. We're going to acknowledge ourselves and each other. Then we're going to get right into our reading. All right, so let's start with our first confirmation. Our first confirmation is you. And then you're going to imagine the powered symbol. Whenever you need support, wisdom, healing, Ashuk. All right, and that's what you're tapping into through your very breath, because your breath is the gateway between the etheric and physical reality, or your counterpart. It's all taking place right in your breath, right? That's why the breath is considered a gateway. And that's the power of our smile breath, all right? And then you're going to exhale that same wisdom, support, healing, ashuk for your fellow brothers and sisters, all right? And now everyone's plugged in, all right? All right, so you're going to hold it for a moment because you're absorbing the life force. Call this up, him, and you're going to exhale, all right, after you hold it for a moment. And you're going to exhale that same love, support, wisdom, and healing for your fellow brothers and sisters. So let's do that together for each other and with each other. Ashuk. Always remembering to inhale through your nose, all right? You can exhale through your nose, you can exhale through your mouth, but it's very important to always inhale through your nose, all right? So now you've just done a smile breath, all right? And you're going to say, Apta pa taruk la ye rawuk em yanun, Apta pa babab la yehu, which means open the way to the soul of Yanun. Open the door towards him. The rawuk, soul, that is the breath of life, the spark of life, the very spirit of Yanun, the soul of the people. And that's what you're tapping into with your breath. Whenever you need support, ashuk, healing, and support, you're going to imagine a powered symbol. Open the door towards him. Notice that door is inward when you look at the powered symbol. And notice who, which is also interchangeable for you, because it is who you really are, not what you became, all right? As we interface with the different space and time, and we did what was necessary in the different seasons, but we never let go of who we are, all right? And we're tapping in to the very creative source from which we all come, and that is the wisdom of Yanun, Ashuk. All right, so we're going to acknowledge our master teacher. We welcome Baba into this divine circle of Ashuk as our Zeti, who brings us all together for the purpose of renewing our story as one people. Physical incarnation, flesh and blood, breathing, living like us, as an example of Ashuk, an embodiment of everything that we are, for the purpose of renewing our story as one people. Abdul Kalal Tapolorat Wufa Kor Bisamus Papaut. Begin all prayers and thinking by using the all expanding. Imagine your breath itself as a thing of all expanding. And we have our Nathar Patah, our Nathar of opening. You have your Miktah, your third eye jewel, as Baba has brought us the scroll of eyes for the purpose of sparking the Thai heights. And you become a Muktah, one who is open, and use your thing of opening. Notice that your breath itself is a thing of opening. Your breath itself as the smile, the complete union, puts you in union with all dimensions of yourself. And as you become more in union with yourself, you become more in union with powers, because you acknowledge that the all expanding is in you and you are in the all expanding. Ashuk. Baror, 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 nabab nadar muktad. Now what's muktad badid patah? Now what's muklas badid yanu? Holy, holy, holy. Master Overseer Almighty. Holy as in the holy sea, all existing gases, our full space and time, our full potential as one mind, one soul, one people, our Master Overseer Almighty, the might of all, nine ether. No God except Ptah, because the helping hand is at the end of your own arm. It is your responsibility to respond. No savior except Yanun, because you cannot lie to yourself. I shook. And I affirm that I am in the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is in me. I shook. Anuki Jawef Pa Ashok M Pa Pahut. Wu Kalal Ashok Kawun Jawef Niya. Anuki Kasamu M Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Kasamu M Niya. Anuki Wahu Amen Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Wahu Amen Niya. Nakok Kadon Najo Amen Kasam M Pa Pahut. Wu Chabub Ameh Mushkas Nakuk Kado Kawan Kalal Pafef Nakuk Ayo Jawef Papahut Ame Wase Ame Ayani Kawun Lake Bakor Jawef Papahut Anuki Abed Biye Nafashni Papahut Kawun Anuki Papahut Kador Nakuk Kador Papahut Amol Nakuk Amol. The all is I am, because they are me and I am them, the very forces of natural nature. Tawakum, for not forgetting us. We are you all's children. You are us and we are you. Ashuk. Lahehum manehnu antum ate karerhum antum ate karerkum antum ate karernu antum ate jawet niyah Antum ate niyahu anukihu ya ye oshukreye ashmo jayehnu ya ye nataru alfuknu nahun ater mukharukum ya ye nataru alfuknu Aufuknun, Aufuknun, ya yenatarunun, Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Ashuk, Ashuk. In the same way that we ask for acceptance, we are accepting of you. We are accepting of our master teacher. And we are accepting of this information itself that was sent down for us as a guidance and a healing. And we acknowledge that this scroll that we will be reading today is the truth and the way. Anin misfa kawun, sawabu pataruk, ze kawuna nazulala he amtkum. Mane maspatwu masaa, ama hadea mumudama'un. Mane muslafukum, unataru. Arjulaye nafashukum, al fukshane kawunkum. Pasawabu patsaruk, pahadeamu padama. Nahun tawuanskum, lahe panenda malu shafe. Nahun tawuanskum, lahe tem. Na soinu nahun tawuanskum lahe ashkuma anskuma te muslafunu nahun ate mukradukum nahun talub nasakuma Nahun talub nasad kuma Ansanun kahena taru Ansanun muslafunun Nahun ate muspatu Anum atun atun We are Sabians. Tawakum. Nadaru Mundaru. Tawatak Mundad Babianum. In the personage of His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Kabina York Khan Zedi, who brings us together, flesh and blood like us, Ashuk. Tawakum to us, Moisar, as we are doing our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. And Tawakum to our Moislafu, our ancestors, for supporting us thus far, because we are still here, Ashuk. And we'll be continuing where we left off from the scroll, Patakror, the decision, by the hand of Panabab Yanun. All right, take a moment to take in the cover of the scroll, which speaks in many dimensions, as we know, as Baba as a triune being or a 3-in-1 being. All right, we have all the primary colors, all right, which gives birth to the secondary colors. All right, for anybody who understands color theory, we have all these various elements. All right, as Baba explained also of the green one in the holy tablets was given birth by Ray and Noon coming together, all right, or the water and fire, all right, which you have yellow and blue, and that gives birth to the color green, all right, so the right conditions coming together. So there's so many dimensions. So just look at the scroll and see what speaks to you as we see our resurrection into our 9 mind. All right. As you see, this sun has 9 points on it. All right. As we are rising up from the ashes of the moon cycle, all right, giving birth to ourselves in this new cycle, our sun cycle. A little bit about the author, Panabab Yanun, the master teacher, known to us as His Excellency Malachi Z. Kabina York Okran. Kabina means born Tuesday. June 26, 1945 AD in Ghana, Africa. All right, those are Baba's coordinates. As you see Baba, all right, tune in to the very forces of natural nature to bring to us the scroll of eyes. All right, as one of Baba's hats is Ptah, Ptah being the opener. All right, and also notice that one of the titles that he wears is transmitter, like your neurotransmitters. All right, so your responsibility is to respond. All right, so that spark in you goes off and you respond. So let's continue reading where we left off. And feel free, everyone, to unmute and participate. All right, so we are on chapter 8, entitled Pa Moisayu, the ones who are rebellious. 1. O you who are Pa Moisayu, the ones who are rebellious, yet still try and pretend and claim to be counted amongst the devoted Munwapu Nuapians of Wunuap. 2. Don't think for one moment that Muslafu, ones who are ancestors, our own Salafu ancestors, don't see you and watch you from other dimensions. They do. 3. You fool no one except yourself and those who put their faith and trust in you. 4. It has been communicated to you. Enter fully into Wunuwap's coexistence with other Munuwapu Nuwapians. 5. Instead, you, Kawuf, fear the consequences of being too close to others who will see your secret life and bounds that violate our Kadab culture, Patarak the way. 6. Because being exposed is not a principle of your ways, neither do you really subscribe to being close to myself, Pa Nabab Yanun, or work for the Adamu Salal, Adamite race, who only seeks to prevent the growth of Wunuwap. 7. You have concocted all kinds of reasons and excuses to not come close to the rest of us to fight. In the case of Pa Nataru, the overseers, the cause of salvation, and urge others to join with the rest of the Nuapian Yasar family, no matter which country or city or town. You seek separation or being on your own to hide the rest, to hide the real you from the rest. 8. However, fighting this way of living as a Shabbat tribe and Yasar family has always been our way for millions of years. 9. Separation was neither our method back then and should not be now. We were urged by Pa Muntaru, the overseers, wherever we are, to seek and find each other and set up a community of Munuapu Nuapians to live for, of, and by one another. 10. Such decrees originated from our past. 11. Separations such as decrees originated from none other than the cursed, diseased race of the Adamites, and was for their own lawless persons, such as the Canaanites or the Canaanites and the Gibarites. 12. You announce in public to obey Patarak the way by stating we follow Patarak the way. Yet in private, you allow the annulling of your convictions away from the way we live. 13. There is no equality between sanctioned activity or rule in Patarak the way, and forbidding one of you have the chance while separated from those who ask you why. 14. Your actions slip up even from your safatwi, lips of deception. Safatwi is lips of deception when you proclaim what is right and what is wrong, because you avoid to natuk, speak your hidden activities. 15. Yet indeed, Patarak, the way, contains right guidance and a perfected way of living together as a community. Yet those who live a secret life are the ones who are rebellious. Are the ones who are rebellious. 16. You knowing this actual fact of yourself, yet you will not conform to the right way of Wunuwak completely. 17. Neither did you get cursed, or Hasmuni. 17. Neither did you get cured by its guidance, nor will you be willing to conform to Patarak, the way, instructions. 18. So you each day become more balula, confused on your pathways, and more deprived in your rebelliousness. 19. You are those who exchange truth in your ways for deception. You speak at others an excellent preaching of unsavory speeches. Then you proceed to mislead yourself, and those will join on to your Kadesh Haya secret life. 20. If you have done, that's money. 20. If you have any of the many akalal, awe, katatal, maratat, that's mental or physical diseases, they have infected many of our race from mixing with the Mudamu Adamites. Face them before they overpower your future. All right. Our mental and physical diseases that we have picked up from intermingling with others than self, particularly the Adamites, cause the unnatural way of thinking, an unnatural way of being. All right. This is the time to reform ourselves. All right. Before it affects our future, because it's about fate, not faith. 21. If you're addicted to drugs, addicted to smoking, addicted to alcohol, addicted to perversions, pornography, strip clubs, sports, the nightlife, and unclean, unhealthy foods in excess. 22. You must know there are other ways by the phobias of the Bible and Quranic teachings, which had laws on do's and don'ts for the Adamite race in the religions of 1. Jewishism, 2. Christianism, and 3. Muslimism, which was not prescribed for our people, the Afafre Kahu, Africans of Africa, or 2. The Atralu, or the Aborigines of Australia, or 3. The Javaru Indians of India, or 4. Nagalu Asians of Asia. We have our own ways of life and living, our own Hadab culture, and our own religions. 23. They have laws, yet rebel from them and try to enforce them on others. You may have become enslaved to their laws, which don't apply to you. 24. They crave the Bible in Genesis chapter 19, which the Quran agrees to, and both are wrong, yet created homophobia the world over. 25. Nowhere in chapter 19, does it speak of homosexual activity or bisexual actions by Ayashu, males, or Shaha, or Ashahu, females? 26. If you are gay, it could be that you were born that way. It's not a perversion of any kind. It's how Fatah nature works. As many Hawanu animals are neutral gender. All right. An example of one such animal can be a starfish. All right. Starfish are very interesting. Sometimes they start off as male, then they become female, or they start off as female, they become male. There's various things that's happening in nature. All right. Through the various species. 27. If it were not part of how Fatah natural nature works, there would be no such thing or person as Muknashat Tatu, hermaphrodites born, hermaphrodites. 28. Don't claim nature made a mistake. Your thinking that way is the mistake. How geneticists know children can be born, Ayashun, a male in an Ashak Katat female body, a female in a Ayash Katat's male body, and Hakak al Hakak, actual fact. Don't be forced to live a secret life by fools of religion. 29. Wunuwap offers you, no matter what your addiction or mental state of mind, Hadayan guidance, godliness. 30. You are who you are and what you want to be. 31. If your taksha condition or addiction is not nakabi healthy, your body or mind only speaking on it will help you overcome your secret life and get hope. 32. Everyone has secrets about themselves, not all bad or good. Don't be the ones who points out while you keep your secrets. That would make you the ones who are rebellious. All right. So in actuality, we all have private things about ourselves. All right. So don't be the type of person that you're worrying about digging in someone's closet while you have your own things in your closet, for example. All right. 33. Yet if others share your sharat's feelings, then don't force yourself. Don't hide your addictions and lead a secret life, which torments your spirit and is seen and by our Salafu ancestors and Asabu relatives who have crossed over. 34. Wunuwap will help you help yourself. All right. One of my favorite lines from Baba is the helping hand is at the end of your own arm. And one of the ways I noticed that that hinders our potential is when you're looking at what's wrong with somebody else, because it gives you a false sense of superiority complex. So now you have no reason to work on yourself because you're morally superior than this other person that has this or that problem. All right. So as you focus on their problem, all right, it makes you feel a false sense of I'm good the way where I am, where you have your own stuff to work on. All right. The helping hand is at the end of your own arm. All right. So 34, Wunuwap will help you help yourself. 35. And instead of Kabul accepting the offer, you turn your heels and run away. Whoever downs the help needed or guidance when it is given to them will become a defeated and arrogant person, shunned and vanquished vanquished by their own doings, the lying, gossiping, slandering, to try and hide their own phobias and kawafat fears. 36. This does not change. You decide. All right. So we're going into various natures. All right. There's different sexuality on this planet, for example. And a lot of us have hang-ups that we just have to get over. All right. And it's very important to be true to yourself. All right. Because a lot of times we have hang-ups about our own selves. And it plays out in various ways. All right. That, as an example, is one of the many examples. And it causes a shame. All right. And shame will hinder our growth. Shame will make you stay in a certain deprivation. All right. Where you think you have to hide things about yourself rather than work on yourself. All right. So overcoming things that are unhealthy for you. All right. So I didn't start this platform because I have it all together. Because if I had it all together, I'd be doing something else. So obviously I don't have it all together. So we all just work on ourselves collectively. And there's no shame in that. That's why if somebody says, oh, Noontet this and the different things, or Noontet dresses like that, or Noontet did this, which is really none of their business. All right. Because that's my personal thing, what I did to myself or didn't do. It's a distraction for what you need to be doing, but we're all coming together. All right. So there's no shame in healing. All right. From one state to another. And at the same time, I'm not ashamed of the progress. All right. So coming back into the collective, because shame will make somebody separate themselves. All right. So you lift your head up high while you work on yourself. All right. So that's what I take from this scroll. Feel free, Moisar, to unmute. So who would like to unmute and explain what you take from that chapter? All right. Chapter 8. For the ones who are rebellious. All right. And just like a couple sentences, what do you take from that chapter? All right. So we can come back to that chapter too. It's all right. So we're on chapter 9. And the chapter is entitled Salalu. And I will lahaja Salalu. English, that's races. 1. Sayem. Kharadu. Divine children of Vunuwap. You who are devoted, ones of the sun. Mukmemu Kharadu. Melanite children. Munuwapu Nuwapians, the first, who will be the last standing, as Mother Nature Shafoy heals the Kawak planet by her great Sakamat powers of the weather and virus, as well as the wicked evil Akalat's minds of the last races of Adamu, Adamites, as they are slowly being removed out of existence from 2000 AD into 2060 AD. All right. So you see a cleansing going on. All right. From the very viruses, the very diseases, the very weather. All right. I like to think of it as natural nature's immune system. All right. And it's been set off to cleanse itself. All right. That's why we are being urged as children of Panadaru to come back into the natural protections, all right, of natural nature. All right. 2. A time given them from 4000 BC to 2000 AD to have dominion over other subjects for 6,000 years as the last humanoid Sanafu species or 6th etheric creature, made and grafted and cloned and crossbred by Mutyad Mutatalu, extraterrestrials. 3. The pale race of creatures who left their first abode in Europe's caves, hillsides, and mountains, and descended down on all others, raping and mixing their Rh negative blood types and their barasi, leprosy, of the Laben Salau white races who were born to remain in the red zone or Zupu to avoid the rays of the Shamash, sun. Yet they, the Nordics, became 3 in 1, as 1, Celtics, 2, Celtics with a C, 2, Celtics with a C, 2, Celtics with a K, and 3, Celtics with a S, and became known as Vikings, all right, or 6 kings. 6 kings, 6 kingdoms, or 6 kindreds, kinds of reds, kind red, as in Adamites. These who spread the 6 etheric race of Adamu, Adamites or ruddy race, are Irish, number 2, Polish, number 3, Welsh, number 4, Scottish, number 5, Gaelic, and number 6, Danes. And there are many subgroups by accepted Rananat names, yet the same race and people, Germanic, Austria, who is also called the United Kingdoms of Anglo-Saxons, Franks, Romans, Greeks, Turks, and others, or Yarapu, European roots, of all the Satu, Sanafu, 6 species of the Madamu Salau, Adamite race, from Cro-Magnon, to name their 6 separated genetic roots on Earth, who was created with Rh negative blood types of A negative, B negative, AB negative, and O negative, to spread and kill those who were on Earth millions of years before the Adamite race, those of the Rh positive blood types of A positive, B positive, AB positive, and O positive, those originally of the green zone, Nupu, of the west part and half of the Kawak, Taha, planet Earth. It was they who made a deal, a contract, which they call a covenant, which in Hebrew, the new dialect of the mistranslated Bible calls cutting the flesh, or baret, is from the root word, all right, bari, which is also food or meat, as in bara. From the root word meat, flesh, food, was a covenant made to offer flesh and blood to the extraterrestrials from whom they made a deal of animal flesh and human flesh to be eaten. This was the covenant made in their Bible and Quran with their gods. 5. And this word, Bereth, became Brit, to Brit for British, and Britain, British Isles, for those now called Britain, early Celtic people. 6. They now live under many new titles, yet they are the same 6 etheric Adamu Salau Adamite race, created and made in the image, and to be like the extraterrestrials who grafted and cloned and made them, as found in their Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 27, and the Quran, chapter 2, verses 30. The same seed in Genesis chapter 5, verses 1, and Quran, chapter 3, verses 33, and Luke, chapter 3, verses 23 through 38. Those who are the Karadu children of the Mutyad Mutatalu, extraterrestrials, and made a covenant of offerings, oblations. sacrifices for flesh and blood to the aliens who are carnivores, even cannibals. This is the root of their religions, rites, and rituals today, and they still offer flesh and blood offerings and claim you must trust in the blood, live by the blood of Christ. 8. Rh negative blood types that will kill Rh positive off, so they seek to convert the other races, such as 1. The African 9 etheric people, 2. The Aborigines 8 etheric people, and Indians 7 etheric people. And they did not seek to convert the 4 Asians 3 etheric people because they originally lived in the red zone, Zupu, and the Chinese have Rh negative blood types already. Yet many unknowingly confused Chinese convert to Christism or Christianism and Muslimism these days. 10. This is the war you see in religion to win over Rh positive persons to Rh negative blood types. 11. They, the Adamites, seek to mix DNA by way of the genetic kiss or fluid exchange, matal, sperm, and manan, semen, hasmuni, matal, semen, manam, sperm, or saliva, or interracial marriage to exchange DNA and blood. So the Caucasoids present their zazas to women on display sexually for the taking, as those of their race who don't know the hidden plans of the secret societies will try to keep the Zazu men of the races of Lawan color away from their women. 12. The knowing of the Adamu Salau Adamite race of white people know what their gods or extraterrestrials order them. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 28, and also Genesis chapter 9, verses 1, to be fruitful and have much sex and multiply. Spread your genes and blood type. 13. Adam was Rh negative blood type. Rh negative blood type O. All right, so now we know Adam's blood type. He was a negative blood type O. Eve was a Rh positive blood type O. And this was the plan of the extraterrestrials. Their secret societies seek race mixing, while the ignorance of the white race seeks separation, which will lead to the white race's Tamwut, extinction. 15. So after the year 2000 AD, the secret societies who control the media are promoting interracial mixing, as they know about the 6,000 years given to the Adamite 4,000 BC, the Adamite race 4,000 BC, and that it ended in the year 2000 AD. 16. The white race was the Norse, the red race, the Adamites, the cursed lepers of the Canaanite tribe. 17. This is why they changed from blonde furred woman with Zarek Ayanats, blue eyes, now to red furred women with Kador Ayanats, green eyes, both a genetic step down from the transparent white fur woman and silver white eyes, the original Nordic Norse. 18. So they now, Talub, seek to mix or to race mix from the Kamahu Palladians to Cro-Magnon to 6 species of the race Nordics, to Adamites, to Canaanites. You decide. All right. So now, that's the end of that chapter. Who would like to unmute on what are you deciding in this chapter? All right. So you decide. All right. Oh, what's happening in the chapter? What do you take from the chapter?
Rahubat.
Go ahead.
Oh, Rahubat, Zamal Kamem still. You go first and then Zamal Tat, Katie.
Oh, wait. I was just, the thought that came was just giving us more references as to who we are versus the other races, and showing us that our blood type is the strongest. We have the as Nagaru, and that why it's important with their Rh negative blood, why they can't survive without us. So that's kind of the thoughts that came. It's just kind of letting you know with their nature and based on their genetics, like they literally cannot survive without mixing in with more melanated people.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Kamem still.
Rahubat Moisa. Basically, their time is up. The sister was saying about their blood type, that a lot of them are hemophiliacs. So when they bleed, but they're dying out and they need our help. And even that won't do it. Because when it's time to go, you gotta go. I yield.
Right. So ultimately, I'm also seeing you decide, because another reason it's not just to save themselves, like, okay, they're too weak. It's also to get as many other people on the menu as possible. So they're extraterrestrials, the carnivore extraterrestrials told them to go in. And if you read the Bible and the Quran, they would always say you can go and conquer other territories, kill the men and take the women. You know, that's part of getting into that blood type, to diversify. Very similar to what the Palladians did. The whole purpose of the Palladians creating the Adamites was because the Draconians were eating them. So they wanted a dummy race, so to speak, that could take their place. And now that same nature of scapegoatism, all right, where the Adamites, they don't want to be eaten, all right. So if we give you a sacrifice, someone else to take our place, maybe you won't eat us. So now you're hearing what is there for us to decide, all right. Do we want to continue taking in more of their poison, all right, or do we want to head and start cleaning ourselves up, all right? Because a lot of us nowadays have Rh negative blood types. A lot of us have skin conditions that we didn't necessarily have before the mix. And a lot of us have conditions that we're healing through. Very mentalities, bad habits, thoughts. All right. So we're left picking up the pieces. So that's what I'm also picking up. That now that you know the facts, now that you have these facts, what are you going to do with it? What decision do you have to make? All right. Chapter 10 is called Pa Tak Shashat. It's called the Deceptions. 1. My beloved of Wunuwap, you are Munuwapu Nuwapians. I send Ashuk divine love, grace and bliss to you all, praying all is well these days and times. 2. The end of the 24,000-year cycle of 6,000 years. Each Hasmuni. The end of the 24,000-year cycle of 6,000 years each. All right, so of 4. It should be 6,000 years each. All right. The last of 24,000 years before the dominion of the Adamite race of 4,000 BC to 2,000 AD, the end of their dominion. 3. I, Parnabab Yanun, I, Parnabab Yananan, have conveyed their stories to you, since 1970 AD. In many ways, by many schools of their own religion, not our own. I was given only what you asked of me by what those before me taught you, and you believed was your own right and true way, while they were not Hebrew for Hebrews, Greek for Greeks, Latin for Romans, Arabic for Arabs, English for Anglos, for the slave master's tongue and the slave master's religion. The Bible, the Old and New Testament, Talmud and Madras, and the Book of Mormon, the Quran and their Al-Hadith and Sunnah. These were taught to you in mistranslations to put you under a spell of beliefs and faiths. 5. So I was forced to first dispel the misconceptions of those very Mukamamu, blacks before me who taught and preached the religions of Europeans and Arabians to my own people. 6. So now, after the year 2000 AD, when the religions of the Bible and Quran expired with their tardah, dominion, time of 6,000 years, I can give you what I came to give you, Wunuwap, your only true ancient way of life. 7. I am conveying it to you in true Nuwapic, Sabbatic, the Lahaj language of your own Salafu ancestors of Napata and Meroe, articulating each step of the way as Hakakal Hakakats, actual facts, with the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding, which is the right overstanding of sound right reasoning. That breaks the hypnotic spell of ignorance of Takak, faith. 8. No mischief can result from this doctrine or Patarak the way. Its pages, from cover to cover, is your true Taklas, salvation. 9. In it, I convey to you, Karadu children, illustrations of all sorts. Perchance, they will help to clear your mind, and you remember what you once knew long ago. 10. I revealed Wunuwa, the true, to the true of you, Munwapu Nuwapians, and to those who departed and have gone astray. 11. My mazar or prayer or outcry is that through Wunuwa, most of them will find their way back home. 12. Whenever the Mudamu Salau Adamite race wants to mislead our races or a particular group of persons, they deviously get control of the minds by offering them fame, wealth, lust, food, and music, fun music. And the poor and illiterate persons, both male and females, from among the chosen Kawer groups is then bamboozled, who was then used by the media to beguile his own people and others. I'm already thinking about so many different groups like K-pop. K-pop is very annoying to me. And they all do all this surgery.
Me
and they all have
too.
this same
Oh
cookie
my
for the
goodness.
face. Yeah,
Oh,
yes, is about that.
I said me too. It is so I could, and I never said that out loud, but when I would see it, I'd be like, it just made me cringe a little bit, and I
It
couldn't
does.
figure out why. I'm glad you said that.
Right. And just K-pop just it immediately comes to mind. And it's very tragic because they all do the eyelid surgery, all of them. They all have eating disorders. They all do what's adverse to their own nature. And then they make it cool, all right, for it's a seduction for the rest of that group, all right. And then when you look at the actual lives, all right, it's called bamboozled. The actual lives of those K-pop stars is actually really sad, all right. So they get used. Uh, they want fame, fortune, all right. the life was sucked out of them, and then onto the new assembly line. Somebody else to take their soulless part. All right, just as an example, but you could see that same thing that has happened, you know, to hip hop, to pop music, to whatever the case is.
R&B, all the
R&B.
genres, really.
Yeah, all the genres. And I'm slowly seeing it happen to Afrobeat. Because if you compare Afrobeats from the 1970s, all right, and compare it today, 1970s Afrobeat was a lot more about upliftment, what's going on, all right?
Sure.
Going against the colonial forces. Now it's going right, it's being seduced right into the hands of being more colonial, all right? And you see all the light-skinned girls and such and such, and the cars, and singing about nothing. I mean, the music sounds great though, but they're singing about nothing, you know? Mm. Yes, Zamaltek KT?
No, I was just saying too. I agree. Like we're having a mind link right now. You're saying the things I think about.
Yeah. So it's never really about the individual. It's about the group that they're targeting. All right. So, so let's read verse 12 again. And then I just want you to think in general of just different things and who's being targeted by who's being used. All right. So 12. Whenever the Madamu Salau, the Adamite race, wants to mislead our races or a particular group or persons, they deviously get control of the minds by offering them fame, wealth, lust, food, and fun music. And the poor and the illiterate persons, both male and females, from amongst the chosen Kawe group, is then bamboozled, who was then used by the media to beguile his own people and others. All right. I have to give one more reference. I'm also thinking about Beyonce. Beyonce is a good example of that because I noticed that song that she did with Meg Thee Stallion, and it's called Savage, and in the song she says something about getting an OnlyFans page. And did you know that after that song came out, there was much more people with OnlyFans?
OnlyFans, yeah. They
Yeah,
did like, yeah, so it just takes her to mention one brand or, you know, whatever, one restaurant, and then, you know, their profits will go up 127% or something crazy like that. Yeah.
And what's horrible about OnlyFans, if you're on OnlyFans, you're technically a sex worker. So now Beyonce, well, it's okay to be a sex worker. All right. That's what OnlyFans is, because you're selling yourself sexually. All right. So it became cool. All right. So she seduces a lot of things. All right. And then they mix in a little bit of brown skin girl and then bleach it right out. All right.
Oh my goodness, they do. That's exactly what.
Right.
And it's so funny because, like, when I you know, before I chose to be Sabayan, and I would just listen to the music. It's like I would listen to that stuff, but it's like I wouldn't go actually do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, so she mentioned the brand. I'm not gonna go buy it just because she said it. Like, but then I realized that people actually do that. Like, that restaurant will be sold out for a year. They will have gone from, like, when Kendrick Lamar, he had a video with, you know, the whole controversy, that big thing, entertainment, with the rap battle between him and that Drake. And he did the video in this like little Compton restaurant. And now that place it got too much business. And I was thinking, like, they actually really do have that much power. I did not understand that, really, because I was thinking, for me, I've never thought, okay, yeah, I'll shake it at home, but I'm not gonna go out there and do, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was always so strange to me. So it's just
Right.
interesting that you say that.
But you know, it's not just selling the brand, it's about selling the lifestyle. Because I'm a salesperson as well. That's one of the things I do with sales. Um, you're not just selling the brand because maybe they won't go to McDonald's, but maybe they'll eat French fries and make French fries at home, you know. So a lot of the times for me, I don't put myself as above being influenced. I know I'm influenced. I can be influenced the same way I can influence others.
Tua,
I'm
Tua.
very likely to be influenced. So that's why it's very important for what we're taking in, because a lot of times for people, they're like, well, I didn't go out and get Red Lobster, but they went out and got shrimp and did a shrimp boil at home.
Right, right. So I thought
So
that it was better because I was
yeah,
like, I'm
so
not,
you
at
think
least I'm
it's
not
better
doing that. It influences me this way, but not necessarily,
that
that way.
way.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
So now it's the illusion of having a mind of your own. And the reality is that you're still taking part, because what they're doing is that you may do a tone down way. And I was watching something about the seduction of like little children, and how these advertisements, they didn't just start by, okay, there was this company, I remember it was a big thing, probably in the early 2000s. And they were selling like thongs. They had a brand for like pubescent, a lingerie brand for prepubescent girls. All right. And then the parents had an outrage. So uh so they was like, okay, they're not ready for that. So they'll do a slow seduction. Or like, for example, you won't buy a thong for your daughter. Let's say that becomes popular. But because that's so extreme, you're like, I would never do that, but I buy her a mini skirt, and that's something that you would have never did. So
Right.
sometimes the extreme
Oh my
makes you
goodness.
feel like you're the extreme, like introducing something extreme makes the modest version, makes you feel modest, but you're still partaking in that culture.
Right.
And
Wow.
it's a psychology thing. And you have psychologists, because as a salesperson, we had to understand that. Like some of the sales things and the sales, they say you're never selling a product, you're selling a lifestyle. And as long as people are partaking in that lifestyle, even if they're not partaking in your brand is still benefiting. All right. So now you have a bunch of um, Africans, for example, they may not be buying your brand of hair products, but they're now creating wigs for themselves. For example. So
Tua, Tua.
they made your brand, you've made your brand relevant in their world. All right. You seduce them. So you won either way. So yeah.
That was
So
that.
yeah. You see how devious it is. So 13, advertisement is the game to make that wow evil seem fun. All right. I used to in my 20s, I used to go out and go to parties and I get drunk, and that was fun. All right. To me, that was fun. Now I realize that's recreation. You're shaving off lots of time in your life. You're doing things, and it's considered normal because it's like, oh, you're 21 now. You can legally go have a drink, and that's how a lot of people come of age, and it's all normalized. So other people, they're doing hard drugs. For me, I feel like, oh, I'm normal because all I'm doing is a legal drug. They're doing
Illegal
illegal
drug,
drug,
right. Tua.
right? But you all are participating in your own demise. All right, that's the game. All right. So the media glamorizes the good life and their evil deeds, thus easily misleading the weak in mind and the poor in need. All right. Another thing that a lot of people do, like a lot of people who live in extreme poverty, they'll see like glamorous type of what's appearing to be glamorous. And a lot of them just kind of feel like, if only I had this money, all my problems would go away. So if ever presented with the to do this or to do that, they've already glamorized that. It seems like all the people who have money, they're happy. All right. So what people would compromise, for something that they think is unattainable to them. So that's the poor in need. All right. And then you have the weakened mind. All right. So some people are just very impressionable, and that's why these scrolls are intended to make a stronger mind, because you have more facts. All right. And that shall help to strengthen your willpower, strengthen your whole mentality. All right. So 15, surprisingly, with the Talfaz television, illusionary lives, they are completely deceived. All right. So if you start to listen to the life of Britney Spears, it's really sad. Britney Spears lived a very sad life. All these people that you think is a glamorous life is very sad. Who else
Yeah,
had a sad life?
they all are
Um,
sad.
yeah, all of them.
They all
Um,
are sad. I was just talking about that. Like, whenever you somebody has like a biopic, or they have a movie about them, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to watch the life of Aretha Franklin, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, like she was abused, and her father was throwing all kind of sex parties, and she was abused as a child and had a baby. Like, just like, whoa,
right.
just constant.
Hmm.
So I just kind of noticed like that theme with that it never got better for them. It never got better. It always, like, they had maybe like a really good moment before some tragic passing, but like their life ultimately, like, they was on drugs and most of the time, and unhappy, and you know yeah, it's a theme. So
Right.
then it's like, then why do we look at that as like a good thing? Why do we glamorize it?
Hmm.
Why do we not look at like the person on stage, the saddest person?
Yeah. And
you
that's the
know
benefit of seeing these things up close. Because a lot of us had to touch that fire, because from far, it's like a lot of people, they are glamorizing their sicknesses and diseases and their pain. And they don't tell you, what they're dealing with behind closed doors. But I specifically use a person like Paris Hilton, because Paris Hilton she came from a wealthy white family. All right. But when you look at the actual lives that they live, it's just a postcard. All right. Um, so it's all a complete illusion. So you're giving up your reality for an illusion. 16. Yet the lion cursed seed of Adamites, has led them headlong into a life of burning mental and physical pains. All right. So you exchange all that for their form of glamour. And you realize behind all the glamour is really mental and physical pains. All the health conditions in Hollywood, and everybody genetically kissing everybody else, and the bags that people are left holding. All right. But by the time that person is going out, they look glamorous on camera. They have the replacement already coming forward. All right. To keep that what is it called, going? That illusion going. But even their illusions are crumbling. All right. It's not like before. 17. As they come to know his Hahamat's laws on controlling those he gives fame or wealth or glamour, they become fallen stars. As Baba says that they will never let anyone die with their legacy intact. All right, as far as our people go. He only, Banu, builds them up to let them down in the Nahoy end, before and after they die. Yet they see this and they blindly march into it, seemingly unaware. 19. I have come to caution my Salah race concerning counterfeit fake promises by the Adamite race of deceivers, who only Talib seek to offer them to those aliens of who they have a covenant. 20. I have admonished that they are in fact the Batu beasts in human form, Lakanu wolves in Hunan is sheep. Ganun. Hunan. All right, let me spell it out. All right. Ghunan, which means Gunan, sheep. That's the animal sheep. Clothing. They have cover up what can normally be quite obvious. They cover up what can normally be quite obvious. All right. So anybody who likes to study old Hollywood, because I like to look at those type of things, and the type of surgeries, like for example, like the perfect woman, their ultimate sexism. Sex symbol. I meant to say their ultimate sex symbol was Marilyn Monroe. But Marilyn Monroe is a natural dark-haired woman. She's not really naturally blonde. She had tons of surgery, and then even her skincare, like she had really flaky, dry skin. And she would mix in her foundation with Vaseline. All right. So you're worshiping something that is being covered up. All right. Which would be obvious. Natural nature made it very obvious. All right. But by the
I was
time
still
we got
wondering why women were looking more and more like Blowfish, and they were like promoting that, like Little Kim. Like, I'm like, what's with our face look like it's stuck? And then they're like, yeah, and then people are actually doing it.
right.
It was very confusing. I was like, then these women and men are getting these Botox and all these different surgeries. Like, they get surgeries like, I don't know, they're taking a drive somewhere. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get my nose done. Don't get my lips fillers. I'm just gonna get my eye. I'm like, oh, I'm not about
Right.
to stand in my face to get it. Ooh,
Right.
so crazy.
And I remember one place that I worked, I was the only person who didn't have any type of like surgery, Botox, fillers, anything like that. And I remember because like it was so normalized at that particular place that I was working. But everyone looked pretty good though. No one looked bad at that time, but eventually it's gonna build up. Um, and I mean, I thought I looked fine too. And then one of the guys who he had it, um, like he was showing that they make plans, they go together to get their what is it called? They got Botox together, and they also got fillers. So the one guy, he was showing me the benefits of the Botox, and then he smiled because I was like, "Oh, you did? Like, how can I tell?" And then he smiled, and then he didn't have any like lines at all there. And then he told me to smile, and then I saw certain lines, and then I did consider for a moment. I was like, I think I want Botox too, because it was so normalized. But then I was just like, yeah, it's all right. So what I did was I just fasted, and fasting gave me the same results, all right, with none of the side effects. So fasting actually can give you an opportunity to reverse a lot of things, and uh, it's a beautiful thing, and it's like just living your culture. You can just be in your best form, all right, without deforming yourself. Because fast forward, let me see, when did I work with them? I worked with those particular people. Let's see. Let's say 2018. So what, we're already in 2025. So that's what, 7 years ago. I'm curious to see what some of these people look like now. And some of these people are young. Some of these people are like 20 something. All right. So this is where Bob is showing. Number 20. I have admonished that they are in fact the Batu, beast in human form, Lucanu, wolves, and Gunan, sheep clothing. They cover up what can normally be quite obvious. '21. Most don't accept their race of the devils, Karadu, children of wicked evil, Kamayu, aliens, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 4 through 5. 22. Furthermore, They preach and teach and announce by their Za'amat religions from their Musanat tongues what is not truly within their minds and Ababat hearts. All right. So what they preach is not really in their hearts and minds. What they show you is really not reality. It's all deceptions. All right. Deceptions that look good from far till you get close up, but by the time you get close up, a lot of us are already, so we get taken already. 23. Be very cautious of everything they offer you as the good life. Khafashdam, freedom of speech, as long as you don't speak the truth about them. 24. Khafashdamat, freedoms, as long as you submit to them and their self-made laws and government. 25. Freedom of choice, as long as you choose them as your leaders of everything. 26. Yet, by Wunawab, you become able to recognize them. 27. When you announce, assist each other, join together as a race of people beside them, which each performing to help self and kind, not worshiping their image or wanting to live their lifestyle or pray to their gods. 28. You are a cult, a bad people, and this is how they make the public destroy you. 29. I say, do not support anything they offer you or those of our own who are performing all kinds of dawawu evils to gain fame and fortune, for gains and fortune. All right. The things that people are willing to do to themselves and each other. All right. For fame and fortune. I was looking at Halle Berry, and I mean, she really kisses everybody, like tongue kisses them. And I don't even like to talk to people too close, because to me, the average person doesn't smell good. And I'm looking at a lot of these people that she's kissing, and she does it so indiscriminately. And I'm like, are you attracted to every person that you're kissing? Do they all smell good? Or it's like she knows how to turn something off, all right? Because she knows how to play the game, all right?
Right.
And I always cringe when I see her kissing people, because she kisses everybody so passionately. Everybody, right? So
Acting.
30.
Teach
Yes.
you. They train you how to go and like tap into your own memory in order to express that emotion forward. So even if she found the person grotesque, in her mind, she just imagined who she would want to kiss that way.
Whatever technique that people do,
I went to the acting school, so that's why it's what they tell you to do. They have you memorize, let's say like poems or whatnot. And if you're not saying it with the type of passion they want, or you're not sad enough, they will have you tap into something that, makes you sad in order for you to stay. And they'll say, okay, stay in that place and now say it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I
Like,
understand. Yeah,
think about getting run over, and then you're like, no, and they're like right there, now go, things like that. So they use, your own mind to trick you into doing something, because in your mind, you are expressing your soul the way it's comfortable to you, but you want to pretend like what you're actually seeing, that like that man is that man that you love, even though in actuality you may not like him at all. Like, he may be terrible to work with, he may be racist, he may be all kind of stuff, but this is the job and you're getting paid to do it. So in order for it to come off on the screen as so passionate, she would have to go to a place and someone that she felt passionate about in order for it to come off that way.
Right. Tyra for sharing that. I also went to acting. There's many methods though. That's if you have emotions to tap into. Bobby explained that the best actors amongst them don't really have emotions, so they know how to fake it. So they may not feel that at all in any type of instance, but they know how to project it. So it's all different types of ways. However, whatever technique a person does to be
Two
able
of them.
to,
So
yeah,
when it comes to they studied us though, as far as acting. They studied us and then they just mimicked because
right.
they can't produce those emotions on their own. So that's why, we were always the entertainers. And then we turn around and then we see them making music like us and dressing like us and dancing like us. And then we're like, they hate us so much, but they always do what we do all the time. Make what we do, it's trending because we have to basically do it first and then they get to mimic it. They get to learn our inflections and different things to sing like us. Because before you did not come across those things, So it's just the art of the witchcraft, the mimicking that they do, which is
Right.
different from the way that they would probably teach you, because you are a soul being and you can tap into those emotions, So you weren't really acting. They're acting because they're mimicking you, but you are that's the reason why, we get so attached to different actors because we can feel them. Like you said, she just seemed like she was so passionate because, like you said, she's a being that can. And so they use that, and then the white people mimic it, or the soulless, they mimic that.
Right. So some of us have souls, some of us don't, as Baba explained. Like, for example, one of my favorite actors is Tom Hanks. But when I look into Tom, and some of my favorite actors are actually Caucasian. And it's the fact that they can make you actually believe when really they don't feel that at all. So I'm just saying, like, whatever tactic the person is doing to whatever that they're using to tap in to harm themselves, that's what they're using. So whatever evils, however the person could get themselves to do it, whether they don't feel it or whether they tap into some other part of their mind. The whole fact of the matter is that they make us do evils for gains and fortune. All right. So you actually give up those divine emotions. So however you get there, whatever technique you're using, know that you're doing something against yourself and against your own people or against whatever the case, whatever agenda that they're pushing. So that was one example. I'm happy that you shared that. Tower has them out there. So we're on verse 30. 30. They will offer you up to them for lust and luster in his tapal world. 31. They only talub seek for you to help them in executing evils and jawedness, wickedness, in place for your ba'ah soul. 32. You will even put on his uniform of many kinds and go out. And as a matter of fact, murder, kill, arrest, abuse, and beat your own to please your boss, saying, I'm only doing my job. All right. So a lot of us, whether we're acting on stage or whether we're doing whatever that we're doing, all right, put on a uniform, all right, and to do some type of travesty. And then we put it in our mind, well, this is my job. All right. You are willing to qadub, lie, and swindle and commit atrocities for them. While doing these things, you are not cognizant of the fact that such dawel tamullat, evil actions, are the most degenerate of jawed amulats, wicked deeds. 34. Wunuwap teaches you, Munuwapians, that you must not be involved in the degenerate Tamalat actions of the Adamite race and his Jawedness, wickedness. 35. Neither in the system he made up to lead you to his alien overlords. 36. Wunuwap only ask you to practice the precepts, ashuk, divine love, compassion, and peace, and reject the precepts of the Adamites and their lies and deceptions. He's a Marat disease. 37. Preaching with Mulma doctrine that they teach you to preach. with a tongue that only brings about the destruction of your own race, and exalt their race by you believing that Adam, a white man, ruddy in skin hue, was in the Shabbat image of the only true God. All right. Walking through different parts of Africa, it's just amazing when you walk through and you see such majority of brown people, mostly darker than me, especially when it's darker than me. And then you see white statues that don't look like anybody around, don't look like me, doesn't look like them. And so now you can see why they can disconnect, all right, their loyalty towards themselves and kind and the things that they'll do to their own people, all right, and the things that we do to our own people, all right, because of being handed over to the white overlords, all right. So 38, what does that make you? A Kamem Zazaz, a black man, a Samir Zazaz, a brown man, a Safir Zazaz, a yellow man of skin Lawanat's colors, the Mudwao, devil. Do you believe and accept that lie of the Bible and Quran? All right. So we go from gods to black devils, brown devils, yellow devils. All right. Harming ourselves, our own kind. All right. In favor of these overlords. All right. 39. That this God, who must be a white man, for that is the image they show the world, be he on walls or canvas, statues, ceilings, in cinemas, books, or stained glass windows, they always depict their God in Paha heaven as a white man. 40. They claim he made a white girl named Mary pregnant, and she gave birth to his only begotten son, Jesus. And he is God with us, depicted as white. 41. Also, he is God's son, both white. That is what they teach and spread. And that would have you ask, is God a white man? 42. If Mary is a white woman, is Jesus a white child? In Luke chapter 3, verses 23 to 38, Adam, a ruddy, rosy, reddish, pale man. Then who are we? Black Africans, brown Aborigines, brown Indians, and yellow Asians. Where did we come from? Being it's now known, in fact, that Shakasu people of color predate 6,000 years of the Bible and Quranic history. Ajamat's bones found in Africa, millions of years older than Adam, only 6,000 years old. That is the hakakat, actual fact. Not known 400 years ago, yet known now to be facts. When people of color predate the Adamite race by millions of Shamutat years. 44. So, the God or gods of the Bible and Quran are not who created the other races, only the Adamites race, the six of their Satu Sanafu, 6 species, and those with Rh negative blood types, a disease and killer, 2 Rh positive blood types of Lawanat's color, to who come by way of the original Afafre Kahu Africans. You. 45. Mystifying as it may seem, yet an hakak, actual fact, you will still find of them some hypocrites who debate these facts, who can't face what has been tabuta confirmed without the slightest fact to back their claims. 46. Assuredly, such a person who follows only faith, hope, and wishes that when they were taught in their church and mosque, in and by translations of mistranslations of mistranslations, was true when in fact they are not. 47. Each year, more is uncovered that shows the Thabut, and it shows and Thaput proves the Adamu Salal Adamite race is the last of all and will be the first to go. "48. As far as 48 Hasmuni. As for those Adamites who have written Safahat's books based on their mistranslated Bible and Quran by their own hands, their own wishes, pretending to be such was from their prophet or Messiah or God in order to gain some material gains." 49. I only say woe unto them in the past, and you now for what they did and you do. Oh, this is very important to do, important to point out. So you have these Adamites that they made their own holy books, acting like it was divinely inspired. So woe to them in the past. And Bob is saying to us now, woe to us who's doing that. All right, because it's no secret that there's some amongst us, all right, that there's some amongst us that's doing this very thing. All right, and they're acting like it's divinely inspired, all right, calling themselves things like the true light, all right, or calling themselves things like psychic, all right. But in actuality, they just study, take bits and pieces, all right, and they're doing it for material or for fame or for whatever the case is. So woe also to our own race who accept and help them fabricate falsehood. 51. They only follow the muksasor deceivers and the chakshash deception they put forth as long as you obey them by way of religions, faith, and beliefs, and avoid facts and confirmation. New discoveries each day with the white and red race refuse to acknowledge as the whole world now looks on. All right. So the funny thing is, race was so important to them, right? Until the facts, they don't like what they see. So now they're telling you to ignore race. Race doesn't matter. That's the new racism, actually. So now that things are not in their favor, we're going to pretend that race doesn't matter. All right. Genes don't matter. All right. Because we all bleed red blood. All right. And that's the game. Because so do dogs. If a dog is bleeding and a human is bleeding side by side, both the blood is going to look red. Both is going to be warm. All right. But they're two different species. All right. So most mammals bleed red blood when they say that. But it doesn't mean that there's not they each have their own story. All right. So they refuse to face the fact that they are not the supreme race, the oldest race, the Hakmu, wisest race, nor is what they taught as the Bible an original. 53. All they believe is only plagiarisms from the religions of Hinduism and Zoroastrianism, and formed while in Babylon under the Sumerians, who recorded their own Taraq history on thousands of stone tablets in cuneiform script, and the Habaru Hebrews copied from them to create the Torah of Moses and Tanakh of other Hebrews, which birthed the New Testament, which birthed the Quran and the Book of Mormons. 54. All of these are no more than plagiarisms from other hadabats, cultures, and religions, and the right race doesn't want to accept the sawab truth about Nafash Kum, the Nafash Hum themselves. O you Mulbanu, whites, and Murmaru, reds, you lepers of today, who are the great pretenders, who still consider yourselves the Kahen Salal supreme race, you only fool your Nafash Kum yourselves. 56. All now know the actual fact that you are the last of your own Satu Sanafu, 6 species, and were only grafted, made, and cloned 6,000 years ago as a laboratory experimentation by Muzyad Mutatalu extraterrestrials, and later crossbred with other creatures to shape and form your needed fatar nature, from canines, wolves, dogs, simians, baboon, monkeys, and porcine, hogs, pigs, which makes up your characteristics and nature today. 57. They only needed creatures with the equal number of chromosomes to crossbreed. So humanoids have 46 chromosomes. All right. 1, the baboon has 48 chromosomes. 2, the canine has 78 chromosomes. And the porcine has 38 chromosomes. All right. So all even numbers. 58. Note, all of them have an equal number of chromosomes, making it possible to crossbreed with the know-how which the Muzyad Mutatalu extraterrestrials knew how to perform, and made many hybrid creatures before perfecting the Adamu Salah Adamite race, so that they could breed with them and not kill them. 59. Being the Kamayu, the aliens have 46 chromosomes, yet Rh negative blood types. Mated with the Ashahu females, their Damam blood type will kill the humanoid host for Rh positive blood types. Hmm. 60. Too much grafting and separating was needed to make a man in their own image, so their sons could breed, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 4 through 5, a hybrid race of the Geborite, the Jaboris or Geboris, like them. 61. It was done with Adam, yet not Tamuma perfected until Noah. In Genesis chapter 6, verses 9, after the sons of the aliens, Kasuba raped the daughters of Anasu, Enosites. All right. So Noah, when I hear perfected in the genes, perfect for what? All right. So they were working, and then they finally perfected around time of Noah. All right. So 62. This is their true past, which they are now trying to destroy by destroying the Sumerian stone tablets and hide the new Dead Sea Scrolls and the Gnostic Gospels and the discovery of 24,000 genomes and the original DNA of 47 chromosomes to become 46 chromosomes. They, Talib, seek to hide the Sawab truth. 63. They will use all kinds of deceptions to deceive you into believing in their God, Lord Christ and Mahdi. Any and all, as long as they are in their own Shabbat image, as Mulbanu, whites, Yarapu, Europeans, and Murmaru, reds, Arabu, Arabs. You decide. All right. So we were talking about a lot from crossbreeding, all right, and the Adamite's nature in this scroll. And it's all about deceptions, all right. and how now that the facts about their own existence is coming, it's all about hiding those facts, all right, while still having others worship their image, all right. So I'd like for somebody to tell me what they got from that chapter. It covered quite a bit.
Rahubat Moisar.
Rahabat Zamaposa.
What I got was in this chapter was they make evil first aiming, so and they really succeeded in doing that because over here people are really asleep and it seems like I know too much and all I can see is just the things that they are not supposed to be doing and they are doing with a smile, you know. And yeah, in the great scheme of things that I got. Yeah, it has been hard for me because it has been affecting people of my own family, and even though it has been bringing them success, I just think about when the how would I say it, when the consequences will hit, you know. So that's what I was thinking about.
Tawatak Zamal. All right. Anybody else, if you want to share what you took from that scroll, and ultimately, what are you deciding based on the information that you have? What's the choice or what's the decision to make?
Rahubat Zamalta. I just came in. I was busy, but I was listening to what you're saying, and I've actually heard that saying before. I'm just doing my job, but the job is to deceive, and I just don't understand. Like your job is to deceive. Who pays you at the end of the day when you're deceiving people? Like I've heard that many times. I'm just doing my job.
Mhm.
That's
And
all I want to know. But I'm relating to a lot what you're saying, and I'm following.
because they pay you to do all kinds of things to your own people, and sometimes if you don't do that, you won't have a job.
I follow, but then I also know, like from like past experience, when these particular people that are doing these things, they always have to have a counterpart, and the counterpart would be a white person.
You mean like
So it goes back into like you're hurting your own people, and these are the people that you're doing it behind, that are encouraging you to hurt them. But that's why I'm so for, like, standing together for our own people. But I am driving. I am listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question was, when you said their counterpart, you mean like their partner, like their significant other, or you mean like their work partner?
No, their work partner. Yeah. Like I have experiences where you'll be talking to somebody, and then when the whole Facebook and everything switches, you find out it was a white person you were talking to. But eventually, they have to reveal themselves. Eventually, at the end of the day.
Oh, so it's like somebody using our image, but it's really a Caucasian person behind the image.
Or they work together, but then there's a white person that's doing it with them, behind them. So I like, I'd say, for instance, like I could be doing these deceiving stuff, but there's somebody there behind me too. So you could be talking to me, think you're talking to me on my page or whatever, and then the two page, like, it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, there's always a white person in there too.
I get what you're saying.
That's
I've
why they're so big on we're all one, when really and truly, like, the same people destroyed our people. How can we be one when they destroyed our people? I want to live to see us ruling the world, us on top, us kings and queens, and
Right.
yeah. Well, I am driving, so I'll listen.
Okay. I
Okay.
appreciate you taking time to unmute while you're driving. Just drive safe, okay, Zamalta? Uh
Yeah, thank you.
um yeah, I mean often that we see that, and I can have the compassion for the Nagaru who's doing these negative things. I'm thinking even like somebody who I knew was on they were on like a racist police force. And sometimes to not be the target, they will have to do things more extreme to be accepted. And even so, they're still not accepted. So
That's
there's
why
so
they
many.
think they're doing their job. They think they're doing their job by deceiving and helping somebody, but it's like a delusional mindset they're in right now. And I guess it's the love of money. Like, okay, I can do this and get away with that, and like
Right.
it's really delusional.
Yeah.
And some of
Yeah.
them are pretty successful, but it's what it's gonna cost you, like in the end.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. hmm So some people, like you said, that they do have delusions, but some people they will lose their job if they don't. And that's the whole point of us getting back under our own jurisdiction, getting back under, because at the end of the day, um, there might be like a racist, let's use an example. There might be a racist protocol that this company may want to implement. But if a white person does it, it's clearly racist. So they may hire a black person to do that particular job, and it is their job to do the very thing that they're doing, and then they'll be paid to do that. And the person, they may be in a position, so it's like people who are weak-minded or people who are in very uh, impoverished experiences. They utilize these type of people to do things against their own interests and interest of their own people. So some of these people that you see, they are being hired to do exactly what they're doing, you know. Um, and yeah, so it's all the above. And then for some of us, we really think that we'll be accepted, but that acceptance never comes. All right. So we do all this harm to ourselves and each other, and then the acceptance never really comes. So I think that's where the delusion comes from, that we would think that after all that we'll be accepted, and that acceptance never comes. So it's delusional. And that's why I'm happy that Bob is here to show us another way, and to give us the true essence of what's actually taking place, so that we can make better decisions moving forward. All right. Anybody
That
else?
sounds good.
Oh,
I have a funny. I don't know if it's. I want to tell you something. You see, like two
yes.
days ago, I was thinking about this very same thing, and I'm like, I started to pray in myself and say, you need to punish these people. You need to strip away whatever powers they have. And I'd like to pray a lot when I see things that are harmful to myself and others. And last night it was crazy. I'm like, how could we, um, like do something with the like literally I'm praying and saying, what can we do? We don't want to flood it. We don't want to put like fire or anything. It would be nice to just something to shake these people up. And yesterday we had an ice storm out of nowhere.
Right.
So I hope it's
Oh,
a wake up for these people that are doing.
right. Um,
Yeah, just
yeah,
out of nowhere we had an ice storm.
yeah, and there's a lot of tornadoes. I think that, and then there's a lot of
Yeah.
tornadoes going on right now. That all types of different. Nature is doing a job to clean up this stuff as well. There's a lot
Yeah.
to natural disasters, and that's why Bob is trying to help us to unmingle ourselves from their stories, so we're not caught up in what's sent to them. But a lot of us, as long as we're still aiming to be under their image and accepted by them, that puts us on the radar to have to go with their riffraff too. So absolutely, yeah. Um, Anybody else has anything that they'd like to say before we move on to the next chapter? All right. So now we're on chapter 11 called Padamam. That's the blood. 1. Bi ashug nakuk rahub amshum aye marura karadu shalil wunwa munwapu muklasor u lahe salalnun wu shaba wu takwam shalil nawapia natuk nuwapui. With divine love, I greet you, my beloved children of Unua, Nuapians, saviors to our race and tribe, the nation of Nuapia. Speak Nuapic. 2. Once Dahua lost, yet now found, you have suffered much in the hands of Adamites and their alien overlords, whom they call God, gods, Elohim, Allah, Allahat, and many other Rananat names, and the many dialects they created from the one taught them, from the one taught to them. In Genesis chapter 11, verses 1, 3, and that those gods and angels of their Bible and Quran, be he Yahweh, Adonai, Rab, are carnivores, as seen in Genesis chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. They ask the Qaradu children of Adam to Nazuk provide them with flesh and blood to attract them. 4. The gushing forth of Damam blood from an open cut will bring them near Mukmam Damam, human blood, or Dabats Damam, beast blood, as you see in 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 27 through 28. 5. Their God and Lord gods love the smell of cooking meats, as you see in Genesis chapter 8, verses 20 through 21. A sweet savor. All right. Right now I'm hearing in my head Billie Holiday's song, Strange Fruit. All right. And she was quoting the Bible a lot to write that song. All right. About the sweet savor or the sweet smell of burning flesh. Talking about hanging from the trees. All right. And it's no accident that they call the KK Clay the Grand Wizard. All right. Like the head would be the dragon. All right. So there was a lot of rituals. All right. That you see take place in many shapes and forms. So no matter the shape or form that you see these rituals, you'll be able to recognize it. All right. Of what kind of beings that you're attracting. For what reason. All right. So 5, their God or Lord God loves the smell of cooking meats, as you see in Genesis chapter 8, verses 20 through 21, a sweet savor. 6, their gods only respect offerings of flocks and jasad meat, as you see, mubra, bara'u, carnivores over vegetables, as mursab, asabor, herbivores, as you see in Genesis chapter 4, verses 2 through 5. All right. I think that's when that verse is talking about when when Cain and Abel made the offer. Remember, Cain, he offered grain, and Abel, he offered the first of his livestock. So one offered vegetation and the other offered meat, and the meat was actually accepted. All right. When the vegetation, they weren't interested in that. All right. So 7, their gods taught them, the Hebrews, how to kill, war, fight, murder other people, non-Hebrews, throughout the Bible and the Quran, too many to list. 8. Their God taught them how to cut up Faruj, or Faruk, Hasmuni, Faruk, to cut up Faruk, divide, and cook flesh, meat, as you see in Leviticus chapter 1, verses 1 through 17. Leviticus chapter 2, verses 1 through 16. Leviticus chapter 3, verses 1 through 17. Leviticus chapter 4, verses 1 through 35. Leviticus chapter 5, verses 1 through 19. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 1 through 30. Leviticus chapter 7, verses 1 through 38. Leviticus chapter 8, verses 1 through 36. Leviticus chapter 9, verses 1 through 24. And Leviticus chapter 1, chapter 10, verses 1 through 20. And Munwapu Nuwapians, if you read them, you will see that these offerings, oblations, and sacrifices were to be eaten and used as food. All right. So go back. It would probably take you just maybe about an hour or two to just read through the book of Leviticus. All right. Leviticus is really just a glorified cookbook. All right. It tells you how to prepare the food, sprinkle a little salt, leave the fat therein, how to grill it, what are the parts that God likes, what parts do the priests eat. All right. So you notice that they're eating it. All right. They eat a piece of their offering, which makes sense. All right. Because if in the Levi priesthood, they had to know how to cook the meat perfectly and offer it perfectly in a respectful manner. And they will always have to take a piece of it, which makes a lot of sense because, and they would be terrified because if they didn't do it right, the God would get upset and eat them. So their food has to be perfect because God always, in the Bible, Leviticus chapter, God is threatening to devour them almost so often. Do this or I will devour you. All right. They use the word devour. So it makes sense why the priesthood would have to eat it, because if you're going to poison me, we're all going to die. So you have to eat a piece. Okay, it's good. I'll eat the rest. All right. So if they don't want to eat it, they would get devoured. If they don't offer it, they will get devoured. If you don't eat a piece, you get devoured. All right. So they are to be eaten and used as food. Verse 9. And when the gods in Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 through 13, asked the Hebrew man named Abraham in Genesis chapter 14, verses 13, to offer his son Isaac as a bashar hu damam, human flesh and blood, offering to cut up and cook him on the altar in order to eat Isaac. 10. No all-knowing God needs to test a mortal man if he already knows all things in the man's mind, akal, mind, and abab, hearts. So it was not a test of faith. All right? It was not a test of faith. Let's just use some critical thinking. This God was hungry. And Abraham said, Abraham, I want you to go ahead and kill your son for me, because I'm your God. Abraham, heartbroken, but he's like, well, I'm just doing my job. All right. And I'm going to do my job well because I'm a good Hebrew. He goes to kill his son. But he took it as a sign that, oh, I don't have to kill my son. There's an actual, I see a goat. So he took the goat and killed the goat instead. When God, because that's how the church, they explain that test away. They say it was just a test of faith. And you see, he had faith in God. And God said, you are actually my son. So, you know what? Don't kill your son. Kill this goat instead. All right. The reality is, weren't they killing goats all the time? They were killing goats before they were killing the son. So when you just do some critical thinking, Abraham probably didn't have any other meat to offer. And he said, I want your son. And then when he found a goat, he said, oh, thank goodness I don't have to kill my son. All right. Because they were killing goats the whole time. All right. But they just made it as a thing of faith. All right. A test of faith. God wouldn't have to test his faith. He knows everything. So 11. So the God or gods, El or Elohims, Allah or Allahats, are not just Mubra, Bara or carnivores. They are also Mufnayor, Bashar, cannibals. And so was the race of Adamites and their offerings to the Giborites of Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. All right. That chapter talks about the sons, all right, the Giborites, when the women Rahubat Atum Kofi.
Rahobat Samatat. Something comes in my mind about the offering of goats.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of cultures, only goats are offered. And you see it also in the Americas with some black peoples, the Arabs, you see it, always goats. Does it have to do with the goat men?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a very
It,
good question. Uh-huh.
because something popped in my mind and I see the connection. Because that being, Pan, the goat man,
Mm-hmm.
in different cultures, it comes with other names. And he is also a god to many of them. But a lot of cultures, also in some black cultures, where they do rituals, before they can speak to a god, they have to cut off the head of the goat. So that seems like the goat man loves to eat his own kind.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
can you help me a little bit? Am I on a
I think
path or something? Or
you're onto something, because even like that whole what is that star, that 5-pointed star, and then they like to depict it as a goat head, the upside down.
Mhm,
As a go ahead again. And then that's where they get that whole word scapegoatism. So it's like, I didn't do
mhm.
anything wrong, but you did something wrong. But you're gonna use me as a scapegoat to carry your burden. All right. So you'll let me take the fall for what you're doing. So it's like you're sacrificing me, all right, to save your reputation, or you don't want to be eaten, so eat this goat instead. Um, And I know we talked about it, like Baba talks about separating the goat from the sheep.
Sheeps. Yeah.
Yeah. The straight haired goat from the woolly haired sheep, as Baba
Woolly head
has
sheep. Yes. Yes.
put it. But I think you're onto something. If anybody else would like to uh comment what they know about the goat to Atum Kofi, feel free. If not, that's something we can just keep in our pocket to be cognizant of the connection of why so many cultures like to use the goat. And I've seen it too. I've seen like the only brain I've seen anybody eat where it's acceptable to eat is the goat. Like a lot of people eat like the goat brain, and like even my own dad, I saw him eating the goat head and the
Mhm.
brain, and it's like it's a dish, you know. So, but
Maybe
I
it's
don't see people eat the other brains of the animals just like that. And then the head, you just saw the head, and yeah.
maybe it is without people knowing it's when you participate in
Mhm.
offering the goat, you are without knowing under the covenant, maybe with that particular ritual that bonds you directly if you wish, or even if you don't wish. But
Right.
it popped in my head, but I will get the answer. And if it pops in, then the rest will come. Then maybe somebody, like you said, had a little elaboration on this. Thanks.
Mhm. And I think that perhaps it has something to do with goats being so resilient too, because I saw a goat eating like an actual can, like a metal can. I'm like, they can eat anything. A goat eating yarn, a old can. They can. Because where did Abraham find the goat? Abraham found the goat in the mountains because he took his son up to the mountains to kill him. And then when he was in the mountains, he saw the goat. And then he took that as a sign that I don't have to kill my son after I could kill the goat. And goats, you do find them in mountains because they can just climb very steep places as well. And they're very resilient. Their stomach can stomach pretty much anything. I'm not sure why the goat is the preferred sacrifice, even though they sacrifice all kinds of things. Because I know there's a small population in Ghana who's a Muslim, and they just had the Ramadan, and it just ended. And right after, they're gonna have the festival of Eid. And last year, one of my friends from Ghana, who's Muslim, he was showing me pictures from the festival of Eid, and then I saw him butchering a big cow, and they were going to eat the cow. But I said, "Are you guys going to eat it raw?" He said, "Some people, but not him." And they do that festival of Eid right after Ramadan. All right.
Yes, but you also see it with the goat, but also with chickens for some rituals. They slaughter the chicken, but also in some cultural work, then they offer a spirit to free someone from other spirits.
Right.
These are things you see a lot in some cultures.
Yes,
But
all over the world, because these esoteric forces have infiltrated all these different cultures. All right. So now we have our own people doing this very thing. And it's like, you know what? I want to be successful. Let me go kill this chicken. And we're mixing in, because of what has happened to us. We have these hybrid spirituality now, a little bit of natural nature, a little bit of six ether. And it's like, so Baba's helping us to unmingle our stories. All right. So we get off of the radar. All right.
Yes, thanks.
Tao for pointing that out. So we're on verse 11, okay? Verse 11 and chapter 11. So the God or gods, El or Elohim, Allah or Allahats, are not just Mubra Bara'u, that's Bara'ur, that's carnivores, but they are also Mufnaur Bashar, cannibals. And so was the race of Adamites and their offerings to the Gabarites of Genesis, or Gibarites of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 5, right? Where that chapter is talking about those giants that these Adamite women gave birth to, who was the sons of the angels. And they were very cannibalistic. They had an insatiable appetite. And when they just couldn't keep up with feeding all the flock to these hungry children. All right. So when these children, they couldn't feed them enough, they started to eat their own parents. All right. So also found in the lost yet now found books that have the complete story of this event in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, known as the book of Enoch, chapter 7, verses 1 through 11, and also the book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. Their offerings from Genesis chapter 6, verses 5, began to eat their own parents. Offsprings, it's supposed to say offsprings. So their offsprings, all right, their offsprings from Genesis chapter 6, verses 5, began to eat their own parents once they could not Razuka provide them with other people to eat. All right, they ran out of people. So now you see why they're interested in you. Let's integrate, because we need more others. I don't want to be eaten. So let's get more types of species on the menu so that they can eat from those those groups. So perhaps if they're busy eating other people, they won't eat us, Adamites. All right. That's what the Palladians did with the Adamites. Maybe that's what the Palladians said. If we make the Adamites, the Draconians could stop eating us. And not just that, they poisoned the Adamites. But then the Draconians were eating them. Some of them died, but not all of them died. And they realized that, wow, we didn't actually kill them off. So the Palladians and the Draconians, they said, we'll work together because you gave us a whole planet of food to eat. And then the Adamites said, we'll get more people on your menu. So you won't devour us. Devour him instead. All right. 12. So the offerings of Adamu, Sawatatu, Adamite daughters, who mixed with the sons of Elohim, were Naor, Bashar, cannibals. And this cannibalism passed on to the Hebrews and their offsprings, Israelites, and other tribes. There was I forgot the name, Cat's Deli. All right. They have pastrami and deli sandwiches. It's one of the oldest delis in New York. It's called Katz, Katz, and it's been there for a long time. All kinds of celebrities. And I remember I was watching, documentary about Katz Deli, and the owner, he made a joke, and then he said that he has people. He said as a joke, he said that you'll end up in the back and we'll cut you up. Something like that, but he said in a very lighthearted joke, like somebody had asked what happens, like what goes on back there, and they said, "Oh, nothing. We just something like that." And I was like, he made a cannibalistic joke when he's selling pastrami sandwiches, and they give you so much. It's like the sandwich is literally like this tall, with 2 pieces of bread and then just a bunch of sliced all kinds of meats. All right, mostly beef. They don't sell pork. All right. So the offsprings of Adamu, Sawatatu, Adamite daughters, who mixed with the sons of the Elohim, were Nayor, Basar, cannibals. And this cannibalism passed on to Hebrews and their offsprings, the Israelites and other tribes. All right. So if you're going to say the Israelites, you might as well say Ishmaelites too. All right. Because they got the same father. Although some of the Ishmaelites went back, because remember, Hagar brought her son back, Ishmael, back to Africa, back to Egypt, and said, take a woman from my own tribe. All right. So make your decision to be part of my family. All right. And then you have some that still wants to stay in Abraham's family. All right. So you have all kinds of different decisions to be made. All right. So you find the Hebrews and the Israelites making flesh and blood offerings to their gods, who were in fact Muzyad Mutatalu, extraterrestrials, carnivore, cannibals. And this is true behind closed doors with the races of the Adamites. There is I forgot the name of that, what they do with when the baby's 8 days old, they cut the foreskin off. And then the priest, or not the rabbi, I meant to say the rabbi, I don't know why they do this, but they suck the baby's penis to stop the bleeding. And so many babies, they get very sick, get infections. And that's a practice that they do. All right. So 14, they offered their own children to their gods. They even ate their own children. In Leviticus chapter 26, verses 29. And also Leviticus chapter 26, verses 33. And Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 53. And also Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 64. 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 29. And Jeremiah chapter 19, verses 9. Lamentations chapter 20, verses 20, chapter 2, verses 20. And Lamentations chapter 4, verses 10. Zechariah chapter 2, verses 6. All right. So these are all different references of cannibalistic incidences, all right, being noted in the Bible. We're in verse 15. And Nuwapians, if you read these, you will see the chosen people of the Bible and Quran were and still are carnivores. And Mufnayor, Bashar cannibals. It's right in their holy books. And the Quran claims the same seed, Muhammad, the Arab founder of the religion of the Islam for Muslims himself, claimed to be the seed of Abraham. He called in Arabic, Ibrahim, the same bloodline of Hebrews, to Ishmaelites, to Israelites, to Nazarites. Cannibalism is part of Mosesism, Jesusism, and Mohammedism. All right. Just look up the festival of Eid. All right. So you're going to do all that fasting just to, at the end of the fast, to go kill some animals and eat it. All right. And then in some cases behind closed doors, it may even be humans. All right. And I want to know, how does that make you feel closer to God? All who follow the religion of Abraham. 18. Most today don't even know and see these actual facts in their Tanakh history. Their gods are Kamayu, aliens, who are cannibals, who set up on Zupu, the red zone of land of carnivores. 19, as well as those of Rh negative Daman blood types. 20. Today, this past is Alam, hidden in Zama's religious rituals of animal sacrifices at their ceremonies and religious holidays. All right. You can refer to the Bigfoot scroll, actual fact number 48. 21. They celebrate this by slaughtering animals in public and Kharadu children in private, still to this Zamut today. All right. So, I mean, my friend, he sent me pictures of their festival. And yes, it was right there in the street. And then you just see him butchering and his friends. All right. Both kosher and halal originally meant to drain out the daman blood of the animal or human offering to their gods first before cutting their throats. All right. So it's a type of preparation. Then prepare the meat. That was the ritual. 24. They have the right to katul, kill, in the name of their Kamayu, Gadadu, alien gods, offering Pakah, the spirits of the Katula killed, to their gods. 25. Pa Sadak, Haye Kawun Jawef, Pa Damam. The true life is in the blood. 26. This is why in Kadam Zaamat, ancient religions, such as Mirkanism or Wiccanism of Moirap, Europe, they always offer blood. And in Voodooism, they offer blood. The Mayas offered blood. The Christians today repeat, by the blood of Christ, you are saved. 28, it's always about blood. Theirs is of Rh, the alien, Rh negative blood types versus earthlings of Rh positive blood types. 29, today Mukasu Caucasoids must eat jasad meats with each meal, and they will eat it raw or rare, showing blood. 30, they seek blood. Create cinemas about vampires over and over. Bloodlusting creatures, yet always from Marab, Europe. All right. And they made it so cool and glamorous to want to be a vampire. All right. Because of movies like I really like that movie, Interview the Vampire. It's just a very well, I like the cinematography. But my point in bringing that movie up, and other movies like I forgot that other one. It was, but just to make the point that there's a lot of children, teenagers, young adults that they were fantasizing about being vampires. All right. But in actuality, they like to depict the vampires as being immortal, live forever, but you can't be in the sun. But in actuality, it's the opposite. All right. Because they're feeding off of that life force because they don't have enough life force of their own. So in the movies, they sort of reverse it to make it seem like you're the immortal because you're feeding off of others. When in actuality, the others, if you have that direct connection, you're more sustainable. It's more sustainable. All right. So like a 9 ether being, all right, lives much longer than a 6 ether being. All right. Because you're living with the standards of your energy. So a way that you could think about it is you're able to hold energy, store energy, create energy faster than you actually use it. So that's how you keep a certain standard. All right. Now, 6 ether, a way that you could look at it, is that you're expending energy faster than you're actually making energy. So you're energetically in debt. So it makes you live very parasitically off the energy of others. All right. So it's all deceptions. I saw,
Some of that.
yes, Zamal,
Can you repeat it once again? 6 ether and the energy.
a way that you can look at it.
Yes.
Okay. So 9 ether is you're able to hold energy, store energy, create energy. You're able to do that faster than you use it. All right. So you have an abundance of energy. 9 ether. 6 ether, you're using, expending energy fast and you're creating it. All right. So it causes you to be parasitic and you have to go and actually take from others to sustain yourself. All right. So you end up having a parasitic lifestyle. All right. So if a vampire is going to sustain itself, or if I don't feed off of you, I'm going to die. It lets you know that this being doesn't do a good job of holding energy. It doesn't do a good job of creating energy. And it uses far more energy than it creates. All right. So now it needs to go feed off of others. All right. So one
Yes.
is
Yes.
raising the standards and one is lowering the standards. All right. One has an abundance of energy. One has a lack of energy. All right. So they seek blood. I saw somebody else unmute as well. Yaye Kanan, Rahubat, and I think that's your son is Emmanuel, right?
So Rahul back. Nah, I was just gonna buzz in when you were trying to think of that other series that did a lot of seduction or seducing. I was thinking it might have been the Twilight series. I know that was big. A lot of teens that was, you know, the whole vampire and werewolf seduction. So, but that's all I was gonna add. But you moved on.
Yeah,
So
Twilight. That's how I had Twilight. And I actually watched this. I watched. It was one of these shows about like medical shows, and it was this teenage boy. he really thought he was on Twilight, and he, in his whole mind, he had this whole Twilight relationship with this other girl, and he had problems with his skin, like he burned easily, like he had a lot of symptoms of a vampire. So he thought he was one of the immortals. But it turns out that he had contracted some type of disease from, I guess, drinking the blood. He also had hepatitis C, and something else in his system was breaking down. But it's like in real life, he was able to face the reality, and then the girl was actually mentally manipulating him because he was very impressionable, being like, just wanted to be accepted. And she turned her manipulation. I forgot why she was making him do that, but he found out he was just using her. Now he's left to pick up the pieces of his life, and he was seduced from television, so it goes back to the seduction. And that's what happens to our people, because by the time you realize what you wanted to be part of, you realize what you really became part of. So all he did was inherit diseases for himself, and he was left paying the consequences, for buying into that whole fantasy. So 31. Now our Salal race loves to Baror eats Jasar meats, Bashar human flesh, because of rape and mixing of our own race, have their blood inside. All right. Some of us a little bit cannibalistic ourselves. All right. Some of us, we don't want no vegetable. We call it rabbit food. All right. And some people won't tell you, but they may have fantasies about eating people as well. All right. Why? Because various natures have made an impression upon ours through mixing. All right. That's why some of us are very mean-natured and, new spirit force inside of us, because the blood, the life is in the blood. All right. So you look at the very mentalities, how we relate. All right. How we relate to life. All right. 32. The Adamu Salal, Adamite race, live in the image of the beast, their gods who made them. 33. And now many of our own people live in the Shabbat image of the Adamite race, who mix their seed inside of them. 34. I, Hanabab Yananin, the master teacher Yanun, none before me, who claim to come and save you, have ever taught you these actual facts that you can investigate and see for yourself. 35. Don't reject me or Wunuwap. It's your last chance for Takla salvation. Link back to your own Salafu ancestors, not the Kamayu Gadadu alien gods of their bloodlusting religions. All right.
Samantha,
Yes, Simone.
question.
Yeah.
Point 31. Now our Salah race loves to Baruch eat Jasad meat, Bashar human flesh. The meat. I think of one tribe in Africa. Maybe it's off topic, but they deal with blood. The Maasai tribe. They make a hole in the neck of a cow and they drink it. The Maasai tribe is
Yeah.
an older tribe, but when did they mix in, or is it something etheric force that they breathe in or something and that took over? That's why they're drinking the blood, or maybe off topic, but it comes to mind. These
Stop it.
people.
The Maasai, they're located in Kenya, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's East Africa. Look where the proximity is, So a lot of things happen to our people world over. Yeah, there's also a lot of tribes in Ethiopia, because I love following food stuff, but I stopped because it's doing stuff to my genetics. It's waking up dormant things in my genetics. That's why I stopped watching some of the stuff I was watching. But I did learn a lot though. And like the Ethiopians, they have a lot, like the butchers, you'll see them just cut a piece and just eat it. No cooking, nothing. And you have all the different extremes, mixed in, but you have a whole tribe. So when you say tribe, you say a family. So to that particular family, it would be interesting to know what happened to that family. But I know the Maasai, they have more so the men. They would drink the blood more than the women. Because that's supposed to make them, I think,
Strong
stronger.
hunting.
Yeah, for hunting and things like that. But they had their cycles and the way they do it, they did it. The women, because I remember it was some Maasai children, the boys stopped. They gave the boy the blood, and I think they gave the girl something else. I can't remember. And there's a whole rhyme to the reason. But it's time for us to unmingle ourselves from these different forces. And it's also, there's this other group in Somalia, and then you realize that that whole female circumcision, something happened to that tribe. When you just go into, you hear the actual stories of what's happening behind. So this one girl, she was telling her story and how they took the girl to some rock. They made a deal to this woman she never met before. So some woman was there, and the woman looked so mean. And then they cut off all this flesh off of the girl's, area. And then they left it on the rock. So she saw her flesh on the rock and she left. And the blood there. And then she left. So what did they do with the blood? And who are they offering it to? And that's for that group of people. So that family, different families made different deals for different purposes. All right. But it's not all of the people in Somalia. It's different families, different tribes. So I would be interested to know what's going on in that family, because Bible also explained that around the exterior of Africa, that you had different things, different mixings that happened on the exterior of Africa, all along the whole border. So that's why you see various different spirituality, because the mixing happened, and so did the spirituality. So the way they look, and also the way they practice their spirituality. But when you go more into the central part of Africa, the Caucasian couldn't make it in there, all right, because of the mosquito. But all throughout the perimeter, they did,
So you actually, so actually you're saying there could be beings unidentified to the world that could be living there, make themselves known, and they mixed in.
No, I'm not saying
and give their behavior to the tribe. It could be.
I mean, that's what you're saying, and I would say, yeah, it could be, but I think it's very identified, because there's a specific group that they did come down to eat, and they did make their way around. And they'll see, like, for example, when Hagar was raped, all right, she's taking her hybrid son back to Africa. She's taking those hybrid genes back to Africa, all right, as well. So there's a lot of coming and going. And that's why I said, somebody, they're in Kenya, all right. Kenya is right there, and then you could see the way that the people look. What's the other group? The Maasai, that's the one that jumps high too, right?
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
I forgot which one jumps very high. But they have all types of, there's different things that happen to our people. And then also remember that in some of the Anunnaki genes, how they got into our people. They got there through the Adamites, but also some of the Anunnaki actually went to Africa directly and mixed in with them directly, like through Inky, because Inky was from the same. Inky and Enlil, they're brothers, blood brothers, different mothers, same father. And Enlil is dealing with the Adamites. Enki is dealing with the Africans. But it doesn't mean that the Africans are from Enki. The Africans were already there. Enki went and mixed in with the Africans that were already there. Then Enlil, he's part of that Adamite. But they're also mixing in, also eating them and different things like that. So that's why Bible says that the earthlings have positive blood types, these extraterrestrials, because he says on verse 28, aliens are Rh negative blood types. Earthlings are Rh positive blood types. And that's why I was so interested in us reading and to get away from this. A lot of us have this whole extraterrestrial superiority complex. I'm not from here. I'm from out there. And to me, that's going to make you much more victim, because you had to respect also what's going on here. Because Earth itself is part of extraterrestrial origins. Because for anything stardust, any type of growth, there's still seeding, it's all, but the natural growth cycles, all right, you can't go wrong by going through the natural growth cycles, all right, because there's no grafting needed. It's grown perfected for a space and time as pocket in the universe. And that's going to be the greatest protections, and also the optimal. That's going to be the most optimal, the one who's growing with the one who's producing themselves. So we had this whole complex that I feel we have to heal past. All right, this superiority complex.
Yes, we'll talk. Thanks.
Yeah. But I mean, I know if I'm honest with myself, there's a lot of there's things I don't eat meat. And the reason why I don't eat meat is because it gives me unnatural propensities. But I feel good not eating meat as well. I feel better when I don't eat meat. And there's certain cravings I don't have when I don't eat meat. All right. So I know there's things going on in my genetics that I'm not trying to entertain too much. All right. And I probably extended my life quite a bit. All right. So it's the Tahite genetics that's healing me. That's how I'm seeing it. All right. So 36, most Caucasoids don't know. Let's go back. All right. So 34, I, Pa, Nabab, Yanan, and the master teacher Yanun, none before me who claim to come and save you have ever taught you these actual facts that you can investigate and see for yourself. 35, don't reject me or Wunua. It's your last chance for Takla's salvation. Link back to your own Salafu ancestors, not the Kamayu Gadadu alien gods of their lusting religions. 36, most Caucasoids don't know these hakakats, actual facts about themselves. It's kept from them until the year 2000 AD and the uncovering of the many stone tablets of Samaria, as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Gnostic Gospels that expose the truth about their Daman blood. You decide. All right. So they have something also. They have a chart. So we could look at the chart. Blood type chart. Brown, you have brown or 7 ether Indians, and then you have black 9 ether Africans. Atum is B negative and Lilith is AB negative. And then on the African side, I see Ptah, A positive, and Anath, AB positive. All right. So you have the Tahites. And then you have, I would say these are extraterrestrials based on that chapter. And then you have Adapa, which is RHO negative. And then you have TT, which is RHO positive. All right. So she's being taken from the Tahite seed, and then he's being taken from the Hindu seed. All right. And then you have Abel, and so now you start to just see a hybrid. All right. So the children, some are positive blood types, some are negative blood types, and you have all this. All right. All these different blood types. All right. So now it doesn't look like Baba wants to take you back there. He's not trying to take you back to this extraterrestrial DNA that most of us have, a mixture of both. Most of us are somewhere in the middle. He's taking you back to your African DNA, all right, on your family tree, all right, because a lot of things happen to us. So these are the things we're breeding out. I remember Baba saying, I heard him say it once, but he said something about the extraterrestrial something complex, superiority complex. He said, I'm trying to breed the extraterrestrial out of you. Something like that. But we can get more clarity on what he's saying later. But it's pretty clear to me, all right, of going back to, and because Baba tells us that the Tahites originally were 4'5" for women, 5'4" for men, all right, and they were in perfect harmony to where their hearing apparatus, their very body's perfect vibration, and they were in perfect harmony and sync. Their whole circadian rhythm matched perfectly, all right? But since then, so much has happened to us, because I know I'm not 4'5", I'm a tall woman, all right? And, just using that one example, and the many different things that turned our dial just slightly. That's why we're constantly tuning ourselves up through chanting, meditation, and things like that. It's telling me that the Tahites are already tuned in. All right. But where are the Tahites today? Most things are all over the planet. Things has happened to us world over. All right. Some things are a little bit more mixed up, jumbled, but something has happened world over. All right. To most of the planet. Because there was a breach between the red and the green zone. So some of the red beings made it into the green zone. All right. So that means that the whole world needs to heal from something at this time. Chapter 12. All right. Oh, before we move on, does anybody have anything that they like to say about that last chapter called
Yes.
Hadamam? Yes, Zamal.
Yes. I thought I read it somewhere, but we have to mix in with the black people again. I read something about that, where the most black people again to breathe out all the sickness that we have for 4 generations. And
Yeah.
these people are difficult to find because there are some tribes that the white man don't know about. I heard something about some tribes in Peru that are hidden, but these black people never mixed in. So they live a little bit more original under the sun. But if we want to breed those things out, then we also have to mix in with our own people again, from
Right.
generation to generation to generation until the 4th generation, until all those weak genes are out of our system. And it clears up your mind, your thinking, and everything comes in sync again with nature itself.
Yes. Bible called it, he said that we ourselves have to tie back into the vine. He called it tie back into the vine. So yeah, eventually. But from what I'm seeing, because it goes back to Zamal Kosi, he had a question yesterday, and he said, why did Americans get this information first? It seems so not fair. And then I was like, sometimes you have to, if you're in a classroom, you might have to deal with the most disruptive children first, because they'll disrupt the whole class. That was my response. But ultimately, it lets it because I was thinking after I was reading for a while, actually, like the Sabians. The Sabians are those of us who are finding our way back home, but everybody's not going to be accepted for that journey. That's really what I'm seeing. And so those of us who are now doing what we have to do, and because it's like 4 generations of doing the right thing. I remember Bob was saying that there's certain people that are going to be redeemed. Certain family lines have to be redeemed. Not everybody, right? And he said the ones that's going to make it is going to be very small number. All right. So even when you say that, if there's any being still left on the planet that has been untouched, are we going to get better, or are we going to make them sick? So it depends on the path that we're already on. So that's really what's popping in my mind. Maybe I should keep these thoughts to myself until I get more. But I already thought about that, and and just tying it to what Baba said, that we ourselves have to tie into the mind. You have some people amongst us who's very Adamite. And all the things that has happened, if we're honest with ourselves, I have a lot of Adamite tendencies. Maybe not that one, but I might have this one. Or the propensity of something I might like. Or something I might struggle with. It just shows you all the, things that has happened to us. I don't know if I went on a tangent, but my apologies if I confused anybody. But these are just thoughts that I had.
I hear what you're saying, Sanotet, with the piece of maybe we are making them sick because we are, yes, we are far from home.
Yes. So some of us I see will be accepted for that journey. I don't see everybody, because I remember Baba saying that everybody's not going to be welcome. I remember him saying that he's telling us to come back before it's too late, but a lot of us, we won't. And he said that in the safe zones, you'll have some people trying to throw their children over the gates. And then he said that we're going to throw them right back over and say, take yourself and your wicked children with you. Something like that. I remember him saying that. So it's like we're having the time now, and that's the whole purpose of us chanting, clean ourselves up. Because I remember there's different landing points. But it's like each point, you're like not everybody's genetics will allow them to go as far. So each point you have your first pickup point, and every point you're detoxing a little bit more and more. And some of us have a hard time getting past stage 1, because Baba says that happened also in Sirius C. They had a similar transition. All right. Those of us, our genetics linked too far behind. We just won't make it. So that's why Baba's saying stop picking up more diseases, more disease DNA, more disease thinking. All right. Like, yeah, we have some of the poison. Doesn't mean to stop taking it. Stop taking any more poison. All right. Anybody else about the chapter? All right. So let's go on to chapter 12. It's just things to think about, questions to have. All right. Chapter 12, Mulbanu Wu Momaru, whites and reds. 1. Tawuba, blessed is the day and time for the end of the wicked evil children of Adamu Adamites is upon us with their hate, racism, and abuse of others. 2. A force put inside them by their alien deities who made them, put in them enmity, hate, in Genesis chapter 3, verses 15. 3. As it says, these people are the offspring of, Hebrew, Genesis chapter 3, verses 20. All right. Kawa, Eve, and Hawa, the mother of the race of Adamites. All right, so Hebrew is Kawa, Greek is Eve, Arabic is Hawa. 4, the seed of their own God. In Luke chapter 3, verses 23 through 38. Quran chapter 3, verses 33. And by the age of birth and death gives in their own Bible records. In Genesis chapter 5, verses 3 through 32. From Adam's age at death to Noah's age at death, to Muhammad's birth and death. All right. So you can trace their claims, all right, by their own records. So Adam is said of 930 years. That's stated in Genesis chapter 5, verses 5. Noah, 950 years. Genesis chapter 9, verses 29. Abraham, 175 years. Genesis chapter 25, verses 7 through 8. And Moses, 120 years. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verses 7. Jesus, 33 years. That's in Luke chapter 23, verses 46. Muhammad, 62 years. Born 570 and died 632 AD. These dates are according to their own records, not that they are facts. They only ask their bloodlings and followers to trust in whatever they claim without any proof. All right. So now this is a very important verse for you to remember. Taken from chapter 12, Mabanu Wu Murmaru, from this scroll. All right. So when we're following the records, it doesn't mean that we're saying that it's true, because Baba took a lot of time to sit down and clarify in these records what we wanted. All right. All right. So it's according to these records. And it's like, wait a minute, what record are you following? Bible says, actually, that's a plagiarism of that record. So we're going to go back to the original record and we're going to set that record straight. Doesn't mean that record is true, but we're just going to go by what the record says. So now we're going into a lot of Sumerian tablets are in here, like the epics of Gilgamesh, the Umar Leash, and different things like that. All right, based on what they say. All right, so we set the record straight. So Bible says that these dates are according to their own records, not that they are facts. They only ask the bloodlings and followers to trust in whatever they claim without any proof. 5. And today, with Ajamat bones being found in Africa, they have been Tabuta confirmed to date back many millions of years. 6. It's clear that from Adam to Muhammad to right now is in no way millions of Shamutat years. So the Adamite race is a new race of people according to the Jews. 3,761 BC according to the Christian, 404 BC according to the Muslims, 404 BC. Right? So they don't take them very far back. And that's why I love what Bible says. Bible says that the facts are not confirmed in books. The facts are confirmed in nature. All right. So when you go right into nature, nature confirms what Bible is saying. All right. So you actually find bones in nature. They carbon dated it. And based on the carbon dating, they found that to be millions of years old. Whether it's documented in a book or not, whether it's documented in a cave or not. All right. It's documented in nature. All right. However, we're not even going to hold the Christians to the standards of nature. We'll just hold them to the standards of their own records. Their own very records don't even stand the test of nature side by side with us. It still falls short. All right. So according to their own Sajalat's records, name by name, person by person, from Adam to Muhammad, was not millions of years. In fact, only 6,000 years ago. 8. And this last race of Shakasu people, Adam and Eve offspring, according to them, was made in Mesopotamia, not Africa, where the millions of year old Ajamat's bones are Wajuba found to date. 9. And the bones in Afafreka, Africa, was not related by DNA to the Cro-Magnon cavemen of Europe, the Adamite seed. The other races on Taha Earth, such as the Afafreka Africans of Africa, or the Australu, that's the Aborigines of Australia, the Javadu Indians of India, and the Galu, that's the Asians of Asia, all predate the Adamites, which was the last species of 6 etheric race of whites, from Nordic down to Adamites. 11. They will uncover 6 separate Sanafu species of the red and white races. 12. Just as you look at those with safar, farar, yellow fur, pale skin, blue eyes, you also see of them those with hamir, farar, red fur, spotted skin, freckles, and kadir, ayantat, green eyes. 13. 2 people who both descend from the original Nordic race, who were transparent, that's white fur, laben, kashar, white skin, silver to clear white eyes, the laben salal, white race. 14. After much mixing, you now have by rape of an afafre ka zazaz tats, African woman, by a Persian man, born of Ur, or Chaldees. Genesis chapter 11, verses 27 through 28, named Abram. 15, later called Abraham in Genesis chapter 17, verses 5. The first one called a Hebrew in Genesis chapter 14, verses 13. The Muslims call him Ibrahim in Quran chapter 2, verses 130 to 136. This man raped an African woman named Hagar in Genesis chapter 16, verses 1, from Makmat, Egypt in Africa. He and his consort, his half-sister Sarah, had a plan to rape her so he could have a son in Genesis chapter 16, verses 22 to 4. 19. The son born of this Ghasub rape was now a mixed seed, mingled DNA. The word for that is Hebrew, is Arab, all right? Arab means mingled DNA. All right, so the meaning of the word Arab is to be mixed or mingled, as this newborn son of the Persian and African was the very first mulatto mixed seed in the Hebrew race of people. He was the first Arab born. 20, this very first Arab was named Ishmael by his father, the Hebrew name. The Hebrews and the Muslims under Muhammad's book Quran call him Ismail. 21. And the prophet and founder of the Islamic sect of Judaism and Christianity, now called Al-Islam, Muhammad, Al-Islam, Muslim, recorded that he himself was the bloodling of Abraham by way of Kedar, the second son of Ishmael. In Genesis chapter 24, verses 13. So the Arab race is the same seed of Adamites. Them being mixed makes them the Reds. 1. The white race is the Europeans. 2. The red race, Arabs. All right. So now you even have all these types of things, like when they say, okay, you are whatever your father is. because you have some cultures that try to follow that. The only person who will come up with such a way, now that we know the genetics, how genetics work and different things like that, to disqualify the woman just like that. The only one to benefit from such a rule would be a rapist. All right? Because if you're going to take over other groups of people, all right, and then you have them disrespect their mothers and the father, and then you have a whole patriarchy. All right? Patriarchy can become very dangerous when it comes to taking over groups of people. All right? So now you have this woman. She gives birth to a child that doesn't identify with her. He can do very bad things to her people on behalf of his father. All right? And that's what happened a lot throughout the world. All right? It happened in Haiti, happened in the Caribbean, happened in America. All right? It happened in different parts of Africa. Like when I went to Ghana, I like to go to the slave port. Also, I was in the slave port in Senegal too, and just learning the stories. And they had a beautiful place for these Arab or mingled children, all right? And they used that as a weapon for slavery. So what they would do is that these European men, they would rape these slave women. And then the woman would be impregnated with this mixed child. And then they would have the mixed child identify with the father and do the father's bidding on the father's behalf when the father is gone. And these mixed children could identify with that culture from the rapist's father. All right. So matriarchy is actually because once you attack the woman, in actuality, sexism, all right, is the ultimate form of racism. Because if you can control the sex, then you can control the race. All right. So you see that's what happened to these Arabs. All right. And why they always have so much respect for Abraham and all this to Abraham and the father's bloodline. It's a bloodline of rapists. All right. Then you could do so many horrible things and continue that legacy. All right. Unless that's where the mother comes in. That's where the healing comes in. The unconditional love, right? For yourself, for your people. And you identify. She accepts you as her own child. All right. Even though it was done against her will. All right. And she has the ability through accepting her to bring you back. And that's why our mafkuzet is passed on from mother to child, never from father to child, because the mafkuzet is passed on through the mitochondrial DNA. And the mitochondrial DNA deals with the energy, the very energy source of the cells. All right. So it follows the program because the mitochondrial DNA has the ability to program the other cells. All right. So even if you have a Y chromosome, the Y chromosome still needs energy, and it's getting the energy from the mitochondrial DNA. So you need to turn that back on. All right. So it's through your mother. So you see how a lot of us have a hard time. All right. And we continue to victimize our people and our women and our children and ourselves. All right. Because of religion. All right. And these rapes. So 22, the result. So let's go back. The Prophet Muhammad, we're on verse 21. The Prophet Muhammad, the founder of the Islamic sect of Judaism and Christianity, now called Al-Islam, Muslim, recorded that he himself was of the bloodline of Abraham by way of Kedar, the second son of Ishmael. In Genesis chapter 25, verses 13. So think about this. Even though Ishmael, the Hagar, has been through a trauma, and say, you know what? I don't want you dealing with those people. I want you to stay with my people. We're still going to follow Ishmael's bloodline through the rapist father. So Kedar, Abraham by way of Kedar, the second son of Ishmael. So if we're going to follow this record that they put, let's go by their own record. Ishmael went back to the land of Egypt. That's before all the other mixed people came. So he's going as the first mixed person going back to Egypt with his black mother to go take a black wife. All right. But we're still going to follow that, oh, Kedar is the son of Ishmael, and Ishmael is the son of Abraham. Abraham, a person who doesn't even have anything to do with raising him. All right. But he's still going to do the bidding spiritually of that absentee father. And that was the whole thing that was used. That's what it was explained in the slave ports of Africa, in Ghana, that that was the whole creation. That was the reason for making these mixed children, so that the children can do the bidding of their absentee father, all right, when the father's long gone. And they would make the child benefit from that very system, all right, to oppress their own mothers and their own mothers' people. All right, so the Arab race is the same seed of Adamites. Them being mixed makes them reds. 1, white race Europeans. 2, the red race Arabs, are both the seed of Adamu Adamites by way of Eve, who only date back 6,000 years, not before. Yet before them, the aliens did experiments on this Kawak planet up in in North Europe, and made a hybrid race of Nordics by mixing Simian seed with their own, the Kamahu Pleiadians from Pleiades star system. All right. So they took the Pleiades seed and they took the monkey that was already there, and they created, that was their first mixing. The result was Cro-Magnon, an 8-man with their own Daman blood type, Rh negative. All right. So now you know what the Cro-Man is made up of. Pleiadian DNA and Simian DNA coming together. All right. 23. From this first of the 6 species of the 6 etheric race down to the Phlugoroids, also Rh negative blood types, from A, B, and O, all negative, down to Adamites, who himself was Rho negative type. 24. They claim to be of their own first man on earth, Adam, which means rosy, ruddy, flush, reddish, spotted, pinkish. Adam. That's a Hebrew word. The same exact letter found in the Quran of the Muslims as well as the Christians. All right. And Arabic, all right, it still means rosy, ruddy, flush, reddish, spotted, pinkish. All right. So if you want to look up those words in the language. With the same exact meaning. So the white race and the red race both know who they are and from whom they were grafted and cloned and made 6,000 years ago. All right. So now most of us should be able to identify with this story, except we're descending the other way. All right. We want to acknowledge our mothers. We want to heal our story. That's what makes us different. All right. Because a lot of us have the same graftation story in our stories. All right. So even in my story, even on both sides of my family, there's the Adamite seed that I know of. All right. Through vapes. All right. But it's all about healing that I shook. All right. Through that I shook, I could turn that mitochondrial DNA back on to reactivate my mouth Kuzet. If I can't do that, I'm going to stay in that state of beast, so to speak. All right. Of disconnect. So a lot of us don't have that active in us anymore. All right. Because of the various things that has happened. And a lot of us, we just have this, because of all these things that happen to us, many of us would do anything to be accepted by our rapist father. All right. So, you'll see the types of things that we're doing to ourselves and each other and our own people. And that acceptance never comes. All right. 25. What most don't remember, being made to forget, is the Muzyad Mutatalu extraterrestrials from Makma Pleiades star system are their DNA donors. Those who also donated their DNA along with the Canaanites. I mean, the canines, Hasmuni, canines meaning dogs, all right? 2, porcines or the pig, and simians meaning the monkey. 26. And finally, in the making of the Adamite, the last of the 6 species in grafting and separating, and the use of the Katatats bodies of Anunnaki, that's Nin Hersag for Eve, Titi, and Inki for Adam, Adapa, the genetic splicing done by the son of Ninamad, Inki, geneticism, and Hisat, Egyptian geneticist. This son was named Ahutwi in Egypt and Ninbazida as Anunnaki. This was the making of the Adamite race, as you read in their own Bible and in their own records of the Bible, the Quran, and the Book of Mormon. And they were created for 2 purposes only, for slave labor and for food. All right. So now you go back to the Holy Tablets, whoever read the Holy Tablets. And there was when there was a hole in the ozone layer, and they came to mine for gold, and it was just too much. It was too much. They were complaining, the workers, the Anunnaki workers, and they said, "This is too much. We refuse to work. We need you to do something about it." So that's when they decided to make a dummy race, all right, or should I say a slave race. So they originally were made for slave labor, but then they started to eating them for food. That was the second reason. And then lastly, they started to use them for sex as well. All right. But they were originally made for 2 purposes originally. All right. So 28. And later, like Abraham, who raped Hagar. Oh, and then you go back and you read that story. And they were like, they rebelled. Let me see the rebellion. Let's see. Trying to remember who did what. So there was a rebellion, and they were coming to, they was like, we're going to kill the chief. We're going to kill the leader. And then the leader, he was moved to tears. And then he said, "Oh, I didn't know you guys felt this way. We're going to make somebody for you." So he goes back on his spaceship, and then they come up with some idea. We're going to make a slave race. But the one who led the revolt, let me see if I can remember his name. They had a picture of him. The one who led the revolt, let's see. I think that's chapter 3. Or was it chapter 2? Yes, chapter 2. So the one who led the revolt, he goes back. So you see the nature of these beings. I'm like, I don't think I want to be associated with these beings. They're very mean, cutthroat. They go back and they say, "Oh, let's their complaints are valid, but the person who led the revolt, go back and kill him." And that's what they did. They went back and killed the person who stood up for his people. They didn't respect that. All right. So let me see. Who can remember the one who led the revolt? Does anybody remember? But you see the nature of these beings. But for me, it's not consequential to remember that. But if you can remember, just remember the story and the way they treated their own people and the disposableness, all right, the cutthroatness, all right. That's not a divine group of people. Yes, Kosi?
I wanted to ask, like, who were those beings? Like, were they Arcturians or Draconians? Because they seem really, really evil.
Yeah, they were the Anunnaki. So those were from that planet-sized ship. Yeah, so those are the ones. Then you have like the Draconians. I think the Draconians would be a lot worse, but the Anunnaki, you'll see that there's different mixtures on that ship because before Inky even came here, Inky was already mixed with something else. So it's not really specific what race the Anunnaki actually is. It's very vague, but it's very specific what the Draconians are. It's very specific what the Palladians are. But for the Anunnaki, it's very vague because you have two brothers and one is already mixed before even coming to Earth. So mixed to what? Like he was part reptilian. But what kind of reptilian? You know? And how did the reptilian get? And so these are just things like what kind of nature does the Anunnaki have? And you see that they have disagreeing natures because they had disagreements. All right. So the way Inky wanted to go about things was different than the way Enlil, because mixed genes. All right. So I don't see them as being a very specific group of people at this time. All right. Some of them were agreeable. All right. More so than others. Some of them were more cutthroat. All right. So 28. And later, like Abraham, who raped Hagar, the sons of their gods raped the daughters of man in Genesis chapter 6, verses 3. And later for sexual pleasure. All right. So just like their forefathers, Abraham has that same nature. He's a rapist too. All right. And then you look at some of the nature, like knowing some of my Arab friends. All right. And hearing the real stories of the things that they go through and the way the women are treated, the way the daughters are treated, and even the way marriage is conducted. Women are more so things. All right. And they keep inheriting that nature and it's being passed. So you see the people are being infected, that disease of how we relate. It's infecting the planets. All right. And that's why you have a lot of this just a mishmash of different natures, even amongst us. With all this melanin, we still carrying that very nature within many of us. All right. That's what we're breeding out of us. That's what we're healing past. And can we heal in time? You know, some of us are a little more healed than others, but there's a lot. That's why the Bible says you have to take a long walk down a short path. All right. A long walk on a short path. There's so much healing and corrections to make. And at one time he has said in one of the scrolls, but I think we made some upgrades by then. At one time we needed like 76 more upgrades to go. We had already done certain amount of upgrades. All right. So that's what we're upgrading ourselves out of these holes. All right. That we got ourselves intermingled in. So 29. From Adam to Seth to Enos, the sons of God, Elohim, raped the daughters of Enos, the fair-skinned pilled woman, and had a new offspring, who, as you read, was wicked and evil in Genesis chapter 6, verses 5, called Gibore. In Hebrew, that means tyrant. In Arabic, Jabbar, the exact same meaning. Tyrant. All right. So now you might want to rethink certain names. Because Jabari, you already see, is a rendition of the word Jabar. All right. And that's why we have our names again. We have our language, our mentality. Everything is being corrected and addressed. All right. Because things has happened to us. 30. They called them giants, a mistranslation. When you look up giants in the Bible, you will see Nafal or fallen, not giants as you see in Hebrew, who they really are in Numbers chapter 13, verses 33. If you read on, and there we saw the Nephalu, the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who became the Anak, which come from the Nephalu, Nephilim. 32. So the sons of the Anakites became giants, when it means tyrants, are the Nephilim. 33. All right. So I'm thinking about even the way Baba explained the nature of a male and a female. It says that I remember Baba saying that men, they rule by brute force, and women, they rule by, what was it? What did Baba say how women rule? By reason? All right. Now, a lot of us are very masculine now, because we didn't know about genetic kiss. So some of us are, by brute force and things like that. But you see.
I was going to say manipulation because due to the patriarchy and how they have been stressing women is the only way they have to protect themselves. So I was going to say
by manipulation, right? Yeah, I don't remember what he said. But he didn't say manipulation, but that's a good one, because sometimes, like, even for myself, sometimes I put up with more because I just know that, like, right now I'm outnumbered. So I just have to put up with it and just be like, okay, you're right. I mean, Baba says sometimes you got to know how to pet people, and sometimes you have to do that as a woman, That's why Baba was talking about the pointed toe. Like, women need to learn to do that again. Something along those lines. Because sometimes, like, person doesn't want to hear it from you like that. You have to sometimes stroke people, and I guess that is manipulation. But before, in our nature, what is our true nature? So men, they rule by brute force, and women, I don't remember. I can't believe I don't remember what he said. I know somebody here remembers. Don't leave me hanging. If you know the answer, tell me what he said. All right. It has something to do with the woman thinking faster. All right. So now when you hear about tyrants, all right, so it's better to explain something to somebody. That's why Baba says that Nuwapu is actually feminine. Nuwapu is feminine. So we take time to explain, all right? You could correct yourself. Now in the brute force, it's gonna be like, you do what I say or else. You're gonna have the consequence, and it's gonna be me. All right. So do what I say, because I'm a tyrant. All right. So 32. So the sons of the Anakites were giants, when it really means tyrants. They are Nephilim. 33. They tried to hide from their followers to keep their original secret, because if the Nephilim are the sons of the Ananakim, that would mean that when you read in Genesis chapter 6, verses 4, there were Nephilim in the earth in those days. And after that, when the sons of the Elohim came in unto, that means have sex with the daughters of the Adamites, men, and they bear children to them, the same became Gabori, or tyrants, which were the old Inosite men of Sham up there. 34. That is what it says. And what they wish to hide this in order for the sons of the Ananakim or the Anakim, Hasmoni, to have Qaradu children with the daughters of humans. 35. They both had to have the same amounts of DNA in their chromosomes, which is 46 chromosomes. In humanoids. So the Elohim must have had 46 chromosomes. And by that fact, these Ananakim, or I keep saying Ananakim, these Anakim, they call giants were humanoids. And that means that the Elohim, or the gods of Genesis, were humanoid aliens who made Adam in their Shabbat, their own image, in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 27. So the sons of God, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, were the sons of Anak, or Anunnaki, the Sumerian for the Chaldees, Anakim. All right. So in Sumerian, it would be Anunnaki. In Chaldees, it would be Anakim. All right. It's the same group of people. In Numbers chapter 13, verses 33. You know what I'm also thinking about? Is that what's happening, like I'm thinking about the Mafkuzet Elixir Life Scroll, which is very important. All right. That we know that the mother is the one that passes that Mafkuzet, all right, to the child, not the father. All right. And it's a certain type of awareness, connectedness. So what happens, you can't just mix in with these women. You have to shut down the DNA. All right. If you shut down the DNA, your program could take over. All right. So at the end of the day, you had to put the woman under you. All right. So that makes sense why an alien race would do that to another race. All right. And that's why they did this, because they wanted to shut down. Because what would happen is, if her DNA stayed on, let's just say, give an example. If you could keep her DNA on, her programs could keep running, and it would rewrite his program. So he has to shut her programs off, so that the child, the offspring, could do his bidding. All right. Because it's about the first reason they said, let us go down and let us take wives, or that we choose, and let us have offspring. All right. So if the offspring is going to identify with this original people, that doesn't really help you. You want to disconnect the offspring from its people. So you want to take the woman, then you want the child to disconnect from her, all right, to do your bidding. All right. So if you could keep the women dormant, you could keep the race open. So it could be any opportunistic force could come in. All right. So 37, they tried to hide these facts by mistranslations of Rananat's names and Madatat's words. 38, yet now we as Munwapians take time to look up each word. 39, in Wunuwap, you are taught by myself, Panabab Yananan, not to live by faith or belief, to check things out. All right? Because what did Baba say about himself? He says, don't believe me, check it out. All right? Some people are just comfortable, like, yeah, that sounds deep. I'm cool with that. But he says, you've been taught directly from me. And I taught you not to live by faith or belief, and to check things out. All right? So you have to be an active learner. So you don't just believe the Za'amas, Mulmadat, religious teachings. You investigate. And the reward is you see the Sawab truth. 41. The Adamite race was Laduda, born weak and wicked. They were Lamuda, taught to hate all others. In Genesis chapter 3:15. Their gods put enmity, hate inside them by mixing with the evil side of the Anunnaki, the Ikiki, of Enlil's side, and they birthed Gabore, or Jabbar, tyrants, who are today's whites and red race of six ether, fighting and Qatar killing each other in religious wars. That's why Bible said, don't get yourself involved in the wars between the red and white. That's family issue. That have nothing to do with you. All right. You tie back to your family. All right. And they're killing each other, Arabs against the Jews. All right. 43. The fighting has been going on for thousands of years in Mesopotamia, the so-called Middle East, the red zone of Zupu. 44. And today it's spread world over, called political wars, the same hybrids of Genesis chapter 6, verses 5, wicked and evil haters of all other races. All right. The Arabs don't see you as their brother. The Caucasian don't see you as their brother. All right. Look at how they treat. It's in their genetics not to. 45. Trying to rule the Tapal world as their end time over took them in the year 2000 AD. You decide. All right. Who would like to unmute and comment on that chapter? Zaman Kosi, I saw you unmute.
I was going to talk about like how I always felt they had how where their culture was, and before knowing about Usabat and why they are like that, and I really was confused at why people of Earth was like that, and if we were part of it was part of our culture and all that. So yeah, now we have the answer. So it's kind of a relief.
Right. Reminds me of something else, like how our natures are so different, you know. I'm talking about being a Garu versus being you know, a Kakasu, a Caucasian. It's very different natures because the Caucasian, they went to Africa or they went to all over the world. It's always the same tactic wherever they go. They mix in, they make these hybrid children to do their bidding. The hybrid children are not seen as family, they're seen as tools. They're just used as tools. And then on the other hand, with Africans, once you mix in, that's considered family issue. So you could have, for example, two warring families or warring tribes, two different warring families, warring tribes. But then once they intermingle, they will handle it different. It would be more so family issue because it's like, okay, either you're going to be pulled into my family, I'm going to be pulled into your family. You have to work something out. You know, it has to be something. And it's a whole different nature. And the Caucasian nature and the African nature doesn't really go. So sometimes these hybrid children, all right, let's say they're half African, half Caucasian, they have a delusion that because I'm mixed in with them, now they're going to accept me. And that's not the nature of the Caucasian. They don't even accept their own Arab children because look at how Abraham said, let him go in the desert. All right, let him find his way. They had to find their way. And then you still have that Arab child running back to daddy, all right, that didn't care if he lived or died. All right. It's just not in their nature to accept. Their hybrid children are nothing more than tools. And then the hybrid children, they're thinking that we're going to be family, and that never happens. All right. But you notice that the African will accept you as family. So that's where you go for your healing. That's where the unconditional love is. All right. So it's two different natures. All right. Two whole different mentalities. Two different genetic programs. All right.
Wow.
And I'm thinking like, look at all that. Like I use France, for example. Look at all that mixing that France has done in all these black countries. All right. From Haiti to Ivory Coast, to all these places. And did they ever end up treating any of those countries as equals? Never. Never. All right. They just means to an end. All right. Anybody else has anything that they have to say about this chapter? The chapter is called Red and it's called the blood. It's called the blood. All right. So what do you think Bob is telling you to decide? So he gave you a bunch of facts that you could
Yes,
look up.
please. Sorry, I
Oh,
forgot I was trying to unmute myself.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Can you also talk about not just the Arabs and the Caucasians? Can you talk about what about the Mongoloids, the Sri Lankans, the other ones? Who are they really?
all right. So Baba explains that they originally are part of the green zone, except for so originally the Indians, the Aborigines from Australia, the Africans, they all were originally part of the green zone. All right. And then you had the Magalu or the Mongoloids. They were originally in the red zone because they originally had negative blood types as well. But they still predate the Adamites. And from the other scrolls, like the Mennonite children, let's call them the natural races, and you have the unnatural races. So you have the natural races. So you have even still, the Indians will still be considered a natural race. Aborigines will still be considered a natural race. And even the Magalu, the Mongoloids, even though they have negative blood types, they would still be considered on a natural race, even though they're part of the red zone. But seeing that it's telling you that they're in a red zone, there was a natural separation from them anyway. And I remember Baba explaining that all the other races can have harmony except for the Caucasian. The Caucasian cannot. All right. So, for example, even their music would never harmonize with us. Now, for example, you can have like Indian music that has its own flavor, its own rhythm, but it can still be in harmony with the African music, for example. All right. It's just that the Africans are the oldest. But what another thing to take into consideration is that the Adamite has went around and mixed in with everybody else's seed. All right. So they mixed in with the Africans, they mixed in with the Indians, they mixed in with everybody. So for example, my mom's side is from Indian family. My father's side, Haitian family, right? And on both sides, there's rapes from Caucasian men on both sides of my family. All right. So that still will affect how we relate to ourselves and how we relate to each other. So that's what I can say. Probably a hopeful scroll to go back that we can refer back to and read again is the Mennonite children. And yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
And that's fine for now. I think if you touch on a little bit about the red zone and the green zone, and for me, it's just really understanding all. Because I understand all this from walking around in our diet. I can understand why some of them cannot, come out of eating certain diets. They like to eat meat and stuff like that. So it's just why I asked that question, and also my energy, how I feel around them as well.
Right. And it's like, even for them, you don't necessarily know what you're getting because the Adamites mixed in with them too. All right, and put enmity in their seed. So the same way that we're having a hard time accepting ourselves, because the number one place to bleach your skin in the world is Asia. All right, from the Indians and also the Mangalu. They both are bleached very, very, and you would think that maybe it's Nigeria. Nigeria is the top place in Africa to bleach your skin, but not the top place in the world. And Jamaicans bleach their skin. So there's a level of self-hate throughout the whole planet because
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I traveled there, they'll rather have for example, I've lived in China, they'll rather hire a Caucasian than an African because they believe that the Caucasian is smarter. On their adverts, they'll rather have a light-skinned Mongoloid rather than a dark skin. So there's this sort of self-hate within themselves and illusions of darker people being the most stupid.
yes, yeah. So even like the Indians with the caste system amongst themselves, even if you're too dark, your shadow can't even touch certain temples, you know. So it lets you know that things have happened to our people worldwide. Yeah. So, but ultimately, that Baba has the healing and the answers for all of our natural children, all right? But they may not have the answers for us because if we're African, if we're African, that means our etheric force is higher than theirs. So even though they're above the Caucasian, there's nothing that they can really do for you, all right? But they would just further downgrade you. But you could do something for them, but they can't do something for you because in actuality, they come from you, not the other way around. All right. And ultimately, we're heading back to our original state. And then another scroll, Baba explained that the different groups, they all came across their own extraterrestrial forces. So, for example, we went throughout the planet. We have different things that happened to us. Indians came in contact with their own extraterrestrial forces. Asians came in contact with their own extraterrestrial forces. Aborigines came across their own extraterrestrial forces. All right. So it's not just the Anunnaki, but everybody came in contact with their own. All right. As well. Anything else? And if somebody wants to comment on something as well, feel free. All right. So I think that's a great place for us to wrap up for today. That means that we're going to continue reading from chapter 13 next week because it's a longer scroll, and I like for us to take our time with such a precious scroll, all right, rather than rushing through it. So we're going to continue again next week, Wednesday, all right. Does anybody have anything to say in general about the scroll before we wrap up for today? All right. So I appreciate everybody coming together for the purpose of reading the scroll called The Decision, Patakror. And as we get the facts, we'll be more apt to make better decisions because every decision that we're making, we're sealing a fate. All right. So we see that we're either further jeopardizing ourselves or healing ourselves. We're going in one or two directions. All right. So we're being given the tools to work on ourselves. And I just want to show my appreciation to all of us. It's not easy, you know, but for whatever you're working through and the secret battles that you're going through, you're not alone. We're all healing from something. So I appreciate everybody that's doing their part as we round out our collective story, because that's what it's all about, rounding out your story. All right, that's part of resurrection in your nine mind. And Tawakum for doing your part and creating this environment for us all to heal. So with that being said, I shook my sword and I'll see you next week. Wadu.
more thought.
Thank you. Bye bye.